All right. Social media check. My audio check. Language broken. uh, Hello, everybody. Welcome to the birthday stream, or better say, like this year's time where I decide to actually do more than just record and edit stuff. I'm joined here this time, like actually all together once again, by my co-producer, friend, and uh, just basically the best person in the world, Solar Elemental. And he's a goose. Yeah, but he's a. Uh, Meanwhile, we also have a great friend, great streamer, and just great person to talk to. Uncle Silver, welcome back.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm always happy to have you here. And as of this moment, I'm also like recording the stream and everything. Is it everything right on your end, Toller? Like you're checking the stream and all?
Yeah, everything's good.
All right. Well, this year we had a couple of plans. Like we had plans to like actually show the some of the stuff for the Gray Line and all, but given some circumstances, the production is gonna be on hold until October. But thankfully, this year we had something a little big to actually showcase. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom finally happened, and why don't we talk just before any of that? Because I know Solar is the one that wants to talk about that the most. Like, can you talk about the just the way the game was constantly being talked around? Or like, I don't know, you want to start with that, Solar?
I mean, like, it was something that I was interested in because when we were thinking about doing this, because I'm more of a casual Zelda fan, but I enjoyed Breath of the Wild when I played it, and I had seen, the anticipation for this game was, I mean, people were just waiting for it for so long, because I kind of forget that, Breath of the Wild released it was 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, it was a release date. Yeah, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so people were waiting a long time for it, and, and the anticipation just kept, stayed really high for the fact that, well, at 2 game awards for the position of most anticipated game, the Tears of the Kingdom always would win. Even back then, it was just called Breath of the Wild sequel. We didn't even have a title yet. But I was I was kind of curious, and then then they released the whole launch trailer, the first visualization trailer for it, and I was very curious where they were going to go, considering, showing that, well, now we're in the sky. I was legit wondering if we were going to have, if that was going to be, a whole entire new world map, compared to, just being on the ground in Breath of the Wild. But, then we can see they actually just kind of combined the two, sort of.
And then some.
Yeah, and then some with the underground.
And how about you, Greg? How was the anticipation for the game? Because I believe out of the three, you're the biggest or the most dedicated Zelda fan. I'm dedicated, but mostly on this part of the series, like in the Breath of the Wild era, as some people would like to call it, or the open world era. But
yeah.
How was the anticipation on your end? How was the...
Honestly, very low.
Mm-hmm.
Very low. For Breath of the Wild specifically, initially, I didn't really care. I saw a bunch of stuff, and I didn't hate it. I didn't know anything about it. So I'm very much, let's just wait and let's just see how we feel about, and when we get closer and they start talking more about it. And it wasn't until the January 19th, the reveal of the Nintendo Switch, and they showed more about Breath of the Wild, and that was when I was on board for that game, and I said, all right, now I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom, I didn't care. I was same thing. It wasn't that I didn't want it. It's just I don't know anything about this game. I'm assuming it's going to be another open world. There was a lot of back and forth, like there always is online, about it's going to be this, it's not going to be this, and I said it's going to be another open world game. It's going to be in the same area. I don't know if it's going to be the same map. I don't know if it's going to be a different timeline. I just knew deep down that it was going to be the same kind of game. It wasn't until that they did that like 6.5, 7 minute video that went over all of the mechanics.
Right.
This was like a month and a half before the game came out, and they did this whole big thing about this is how the game's going to control. This is what, you're going to have the ascend, and you're going to have this and that. And when I saw like the fuse mechanic and stuff, that was when I went nuts. I was like, okay, whoa, this looks really good. It looks like a lot you can do in this game, if not a little too much. So leading up to it, it wasn't until then that I said, yeah, now this is absolutely a day one purchase. I'm all in. And then from then, it just built up until the actual release.
Right. And with that, I can actually, like, you bring up a proper thing that I feel gets related to the way this game feels to a lot of people. Like, what were your overall general thoughts on Breath of the Wild? Like once you actually got it in your hands, like I don't want to get too much into Breath of the Wild because we already have enough as it is with just this one game, but just to overall know how you felt about Breath of the Wild once you played it and finished it.
Oh, I loved it. I have no problem. Well, I have things that I think could have been done better with that game. I probably nothing that people haven't heard before, which is the world was a little bit empty. There wasn't a ton of stuff you can do outside of searching for shrines and Koroks. The enemy variety was very low. The missing of unique dungeons as opposed to everything was divine beasts, which even if they were different, they visually just looked the same, and you did similar things in a similar looking place. And then you fought a Blight Ganon, which looked like there. It just didn't feel like there was a lot of variety in the stuff that you could do. So it was great. It was the exploration was phenomenal, and there was it just had some fundamental issues, but I still love the experience overall. And I was looking for that, but more. And that was what when I saw that video about everything in the game, that's what Tears of the Kingdom was. It was Breath of the Wild, but more.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Solar?
My experience with it, I definitely enjoy, because the thing is, like, with me and Zelda games, how it's always been whenever I try one, I get into it, and then I get to a point where I constantly get stuck and have to. I can be a little small brain sometimes, so sometimes when I get to puzzles and many Zelda games, I would have to keep looking up guides and all the time. It would get to the point where I'm just like, okay, I feel like I just have to have a piece of paper open all the time for me to get through the game, so I'm not really much having fun anymore. But then Breath of the Wild came out, and I saw that it was a very approachable experience for me, for someone who is not really too puzzle oriented, and sure, usually Zelda puzzles aren't usually that complicated, but again, sometimes I can be a bit small brain. But anyway, I really enjoyed how the whole open world aspect of it, and how just approachable and simplistic in nature it felt. But I could definitely understand the complaint of, like, well, sometimes it could feel a little too simplistic, sometimes it feels a little empty. But I think they definitely improved upon that with the sequel. Like, I think one of the things I was laughing about when I saw the trailer for Tears of the Kingdom was with the like Greg mentioned, the fusing mechanic, where you could basically make vehicles. And yeah. I was just like, oh shit, nuts and bolts, but better.
Oh yeah, no. I promise we'll get there. Like, I have because there's a lot to talk about just on that one thing alone. In my case, well, for starters, again, like, just to give an idea, like, because I didn't get a Switch for that game. I got the Wii U version. I have it right here in my hand. I even got the little poster that you get for the for pre-order. Like, which is something that I rarely do because again I don't I believe that pre-orders can be a little more complicated than actually positive, especially on physical sometimes. But the like for me, like when there was something that I saw with Breath of the Wild that just made me click on it, and for 6 years that has been a game that I constantly keep coming back. And I have done it even on charity streams, like here that both of you have seen, like one of them as like, oh, do it, how about this time without collecting the orbs, but you still get the shrines? How about if you do it without the shrines, or just getting right into Calamity Ganon? Like, it was just so open that it just felt right and perfect on everything that it wanted to, like, to be, at least for me. Like, it just clicked on every little box, even though I do agree with a lot of elements, like, oh, the world is a little bit too empty, or the things that you have to do sometimes feel a little too complicated or a little too brain dead, depending on the situation you find yourself into. Like, oh, this Water Blight Ganon, completely easy, but then Thunder Blight Ganon, because it's all about parrying, then it's goddamn impossible. But like, it always felt like because of how open it was, you either had one of the easiest times picking yourself back up, or you were just gonna get absolutely destroyed every single time. But that was part of the experience. It made feel like every single time you booted the game, it was its own adventure. Like, I always compare it. Have any of you watched Samurai Jack?
A couple episodes.
Like, it kind of felt like that, like you're just walking around and then finding yourself in a random situation. But then just hearing about that announcement, alongside the fact that it was right after Banjo got announced in Smash, like everything just felt right when and I was just waiting for that game, and it's a good thing that I was willing to wait, because my God, we're talking about 5 years of just waiting for the one goddamn game. But oh my God, but just for the sake of, we're gonna get it in quote-unquote order, but also not really, because again, I just have topics instead of like actual like full-on dissection of the game. Otherwise, we'll be here for the entire day. I know you, Greg, have a lot to say about this particular section. Like, what did you think about the way the game is introduced, like the introduction of the game?
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the opening of the game, I have never, I don't think ever in my life have I been more engaged in the first 20 minutes. The exploration going down, and just having Zelda explain everything while you're walking with her, and a lot of the time you run around and you try and get ahead and you goof around and stuff. I was just so involved in what was happening with the music, the way the music was doing this sort of it was almost like backwards chanting.
Yeah, like,
if that makes any sense. Like, oh my God, it was incredible. And I'm walking down the stairs, and I feel like I'm getting the exact sense of exploration and wonderment that I'm supposed to be getting.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like, oh, I think that this, they kind of built an area, but then I think it's cooler than maybe they intended, or you walk in somewhere and it's like, it's okay, but it's this really elaborate thing. I think that they had every intention of you completely being absorbed in what was happening, and I was as absorbed in it. And I just remember wrapping it up and, getting out and having the conclusion of that part of the story, and just thinking, I am absorbed. I'm fully absorbed.
Yeah, in my case, for starters, let's just talk about the fact that unlike the teams behind Metroid, these people actually know how to justify Link just being completely useless again. Like, the way they set up the appearance of Ganondorf is probably the part that struck with me the most throughout those first few hours. That and the appearance of Rauru, like, mostly because of the goddamn name.
Oh yeah.
Like the fact that nobody character in Ocarina of Time, because he just shows up to expose you. Like, he serves no purpose in that game. but and here
Why
he's
would
like,
people think he's the owl.
yeah, and here he's actually I know for a fact that people love him. The Tears of the Kingdom Rauru is a beloved character in this one.
Oh, Rauru? Yeah, people are discovering a lot of things about things that they like.
Yeah.
Looking at Rauru and realizing, wow, that's stirring up feelings.
Yeah, but also like in the way things are set up, it kind of gives you this idea, like, because Solar kind of mentioned it a little bit in discussion. Like, you kind of start to wonder if you once again slept for 100 years after the appearance of Ganondorf, because they just sort of show up with a lot of mystery. They're like, suddenly Rauru and the robot thing, and everybody just kind of knows who Zelda is and who Link is. But now you're completely unaware because, like, again, you don't know how much time has passed since Link fell unconscious in the depths.
Yeah.
But then you start exploring the Great Sky Island, and at least in my case, I was able to realize that there was gonna be a bit more enough differences in how the game was structured compared to its predecessor, because there's a certain level of linearity within the same Great Sky Island. How can I put it? Like, for starters, you don't get the fourth shrine available to you until the very end.
You have to do the first three. They sort of gate your progress.
Yeah, they gate your progress, and you don't even unlock the ability to teleport from shrine to from wherever you are to another shrine until you have to get that fourth one. And just the way that the path is kind of set up, like you have to do the Ultra Hand shrine first. You have to do the Fuse one, and then the Ascender. Like, you cannot choose your order like you did in the Great Plateau. And hell, you can't even choose. Like, you cannot even choose which container you want. You have to get the extra heart piece in order to to properly progress.
That I found kind of weird, but I think you can do the dungeons separately.
I mean, go ahead.
I think you can do them separately, like, or out of order. I mean, I think you can do them out of order, but I think that in order for you to do them out of order, you'd have to. It feels like you'd have to already have a decent understanding of how to sort of cheese the game.
Yeah.
You know, if you need the ascend to get the next ability. But if you know how to climb, or you know how to use a one of those birds or something, like, you can probably manipulate it in some way. But yeah, if you go by what the game makes you believe you're capable of, it does sort of gate you to 1, 2, and 3. You don't technically have to do it, but the game does kind of ease you in that direction.
Yeah. But then and once you get all of that done, there's just a lot of exposition, and even things that once you start getting, the more you play the game, you realize that they basically told you the entire game in the intro alone. That they told, but obviously, but I think that's what makes it great, that you only know those elements after the fact, like after you play the game.
Yeah.
But they teach you so many things, and they put you on so many different areas, and they just expect you to understand this kind of stuff, basically because they expect you that you know how Breath of the Wild works from the beginning. A few hours ago, on Greg's stream, you can check it out, twitch.tv/UncleSilver. We were talking about the way the games tend to show you tutorials, and this game, all it does is put you a small black dot at the corner, and after you do something anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. It has tutorials for the things that you do, but the tutorials are at specific spots. Mm-hmm. It's not like every time you first try and do this thing, it's going to tell you. It's only going to tell you when you get to a certain spot, and then someone's going to give you a quest that kind of relies on you to do that, and then that's sort of the tutorial. There are tons of things that I found 100 hours into the game where I finally was exploring this area and I found this quest, and then someone said, "Oh, this is how you hold things and throw them."
Oh, there's a lot.
Oh,
yeah, there's a lot.
I could have used that a while ago.
There's a lot of videos like that. Like I just see a bunch of videos that like, oh, I wish I knew this 300 hours ago. I wish I
and if you jump down from the Sky Islands and you did exactly what the game was telling you to do, you would know.
Mm-hmm.
But then the game also inspires exploration, which is what happened. I ended up exploring a bunch of places before I went back and got the paraglider.
Yeah.
So it does make you. It gives you a path where you don't have to worry about this, and you are going to be taught the things that you need to be taught. But it also encourages you to not take the path that's laid out before you, because there's reward in exploration, which this game does very well. But that's a separate topic.
Mm-hmm. Like we can kind of jump right into that. But at least with the way they make exploration in Hyrule Field specifically, because it's the one that's the most direct to Breath of the Wild. Like, how do you feel the way they and the way they build things like the towers, for instance, like is the one that I had the most complaints for very picky reasons. But how do you feel the way they handled Hyrule Field in terms of like quantity and the amount of things that you have, and just overall exploring the area?
Just Hyrule Field in specific, or everywhere?
Just getting into Hyrule Field. We'll get into Sky Islands and the other area later.
Well, to be completely honest, Hyrule Field I didn't really explore until much later in the game.
Oh, okay.
Like I went to Lookout Landing, and I basically did the same thing that I usually do in these kinds of games, which I promised myself I wasn't going to do. And I'd say about 20 hours in, actually probably about 10 hours in, I just gave up. I was like, yeah, I have to do this. I went and found every tower. And that's what I do. I don't explore the area close by. I figure out how I'm supposed to get the towers. I get what I need. And then I look at the map and I say, where's the next closest tower? Or I look around, just not even on the map. I look around and I mark towers, and that's where I go.
Yeah, no,
and then if there's a couple of shrines on the way, I'll hit them. But I usually don't really do a lot of the side stuff on the way. My goal is to unlock all of the towers so that I can have access to the full map. So now I don't have to worry about, oh, they're going to give me a quest, and then I have to go all the way over here. And by the time I finally get there, I'm going to forget what the hell I did, what the hell I needed to do. This way, I have to go over here, warp.
Yeah, I get it. Go ahead.
I'm kind of like that too. Like with like obviously Far Cry games are infamous for that. Like I go after all the radio towers so I can see shit. They also like the spider in like the first Insomniac Spider-Man game. Like for you to see the whole map of New York, you have to fix these like police communication
the satellites.
towers.
Yeah.
So, like,
Okay.
I immediately like do that before doing anything else.
Then I do the same. Like if it means anything, like I feel that that's even the one thing that the game wants you to do the most when it comes to exploration, because that's how you get all the landmarks at the very least, like, to know where is where, at least in a visual way. The only reason why I have a picky thing with it is mostly just the implication of how they justified having to do everything again. like it's just like the a certain character that we all love, but I'm a bit grudge on that part. Just decided like, oh, we're just gonna do the whole thing again, but under my name, like that. That was just the one thing that I didn't like. But I love that they used the towers in a similar way to how they did the shrines in the previous game, where those are the ones that have certain puzzles that you had to solve in order to unlock them. Because the shrines in Tears of the Kingdom, with the exception of the ones in Sky Islands, from what I have been able to play, all of them are very straightforward. Like you just go there, find the shrine, and that's it. Like you don't have to do any, oh, get me this item, or do this kind of stuff, or get me out of this. I'm blocking the area. What are you gonna do about it? Or you, like they're very. Go ahead.
It depends. Well, there are. I guess you haven't found. You're saying in order to get to the shrine, you don't have to do anything.
At least in the ones in Hyrule Field, like, because I know the ones in Sky Islands are very like, oh, get this green rock into this area.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is that there are some there are some where you have to get the green crystal and you have to take it there, and then it becomes the shrine. There are ones that are extremely well hidden, so it's not so much a question of I have to bring this item or kill these things or solve this puzzle. It literally is just finding it.
Yeah.
But even if you've got the radar, there's a thing that you can get where it sort of beeps when you get near the shrines. Even if you have that thing on, some shrines are actually hard to find because of the way they're buried underground.
Oh, and I will even dare to say that, well, obviously they help you, like, know that there's something here, but the radar is only like, oh, it's below and in this direction.
Yeah.
That's all the information you're gonna get.
Yeah, so the puzzle is finding the actual shrine.
Mm-hmm. There was one nearby Sora's domain that I just could not find. It was nearby the tower, but I just could not find it for the life of me, and I just gave up. Because by the time I got the sensor, I was already done. I already had 70 shrines, and every shrine's done, and I waited to do a lot of the side quests, which I kind of regret because that would one of those things was the medallion. And that would have helped me so much on a certain mechanic that I love that I exploited for the hell of it. But I feel that the way they handled Hyrule Field specifically, well, first off, definitely address the whole aspect of the world being more alive. At least Hyrule Field is definitely more alive. There's always either somebody around or just something to do in the area. And also, Ganondorf is not fucking around. The entire area wants you dead.
Yeah, and that gets worse.
Yeah, but it was also kind of because it's showing enough right on screen. It was kind of nice seeing a lot of areas that previously were empty or were nothing in Breath of the Wild, and now see them becoming entire villages with things to do and economies and just entire areas alive or even in actual danger, the beach area, the beach.
Oh yeah.
That one it took me until the very end to properly do, because the fight is actually kind of difficult, and that's a different thing that I can talk about. There's the variety of enemies still a little for my liking, but it's definitely expanded, way more than one would have anticipated, in my opinion.
A lot of comebacks that we didn't realize.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. But then you have the second area that the game kind of explores, and it was the main one that got advertised, the Sky Islands. These are. I was on the opposite of you on that part because I think you spend the most time on the Sky Islands, right?
No. I spent a good time trying to go back because I know that they were very limited, and I figured that's where the secrets were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that lasted right up until I dove down a big hole.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
and when I jumped down a big hole, I won't talk about it that much right now because I know you're going to talk about the Sky Islands, but I jumped down a big hole. I made it to the bottom. I realized what was going on, and I was just floored by what was happening. But I immediately left because at first I thought I wasn't supposed to be there, and I thought, if this is what I think it is, I don't want to get lost exploring here because I'm trying to explore the Sky Islands, which I did find great.
Mm-hmm. For me, these were the areas that I spend the least amount of time exploring because these ones are very very specific on what they want you to do. They want you to do the puzzle of the shrine for that specific Sky Island. Do the gacha system, just getting the little pieces for for the Sonai artifacts, and that's about it. Dude, you don't really do much into these areas, but whenever you're in the actual Sky Islands, it definitely feels like you're in a massive. How can I put it? You definitely feel the scope or where you are right now. Like
Yeah.
definitely the highlight for me on the Sky Islands is the bird suit, like the whole cycle where you have to start skydiving 3 different towers in order to to get the suit.
Oh, okay.
With a very broken ability, may I add. Like, oh, get this suit so you never feel fall damage ever again. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't actually realize that it did that when you level them up, that you can't take fall damage. If I would have, I literally didn't find that out until about 20 hours of game time ago. If I would have known, I would have used that a lot more.
Yeah, no, and it is incredibly useful. Like, definitely, I definitely recommend it for anybody that's listening, and it still hasn't gotten them. But like the Sky Islands feel like just their own unique puzzles, and the area for a certain thing that I asked for it. I asked for it, like to have the hardest time on getting those things, but like just the way everything, and it has a very unique gimmick, which is certain areas had a very low gravity section.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And those, I'm not gonna lie, those felt a little tricky at first. Those, it's hard to figure out how to properly control the gravity, but it's also fun to just start skydiving and finding a lot of different things. For instance, like as I'm showing right on screen, you can just grab the star fragments as you're falling down, and that feels very satisfying to do.
Yeah, there is a part of it that's like, this is pretty cool.
But then, because I think that's the one that gets the most need to be explored, because it's the one that felt like the biggest surprise for everybody, since during the trailers and even during the overview gameplay trailers and all, we get constantly shown, now there's Sky Islands. And we promote the Sky Islands so much that we brought the one game that nobody fucking asked for just because it has Sky in its team, just because it has. But then that also leads us to again the biggest surprise for me. Like when I saw it, I have no idea about the depths. Did you?
Nobody did. They didn't say anything in that long video. They mentioned that you might be able to go underground, and I just thought caves.
Yeah,
and they didn't show any of it.
And the answer is both. Because there are caves to explore and everything, but those are once again very specific. Gimmicky areas, and which you can technically easily fulfill the whole cave side quest, that you have to explore all the caves by finding Iwata. The horse, the spirit horse.
Yeah, yeah. Which is I'm not a huge fan of the way that was executed, but I don't hate it. It's just if there's any complaints about the game, it would just be that there's a lot of things that I kind of wish were a little bit different. But I'm glad they are there. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's a bit of a stretch, but
because all the way they handle Satori in this game, because in the previous one, it was just this mysterious creature that you can ride if you know how to do it. Here is oh, you see it, he glows the entire area for you to find the caves. That's it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I kind of wish that it showed you that the capes or the caves that you didn't find on your map were the only ones that lit up.
Yeah.
That was my big complaint with that.
Yeah, no, but the depths is first off, the depths is the epitome of hostile environment, because just to kind of put it into perspective, this area is living in gloom. All the monsters are covered in this gloom energy that when you get attacked by it, you lose the heart, but also the ability to recover from that heart.
Yeah, which is, I think, kind of unique. I don't know that Zelda's ever done a semi-permanent health loss sort of mechanic. I don't think they've ever done anything like that.
I don't think they've ever done something like the depths in at all, because again, the Sky Islands, Skyward Sword, we had or just the concept of sky temples, but I think even just the concept of an underground area, I don't know, I just don't remember anything like that in any game. I love depending on how on what perspective we put on all of these, but this area is also like is the most complicated one, but also the most satisfying to explore, in my opinion. The most
Yeah.
like first off, is the one that has all the DLC from Breath of the Wild to obtain. Which is what I did. Like I did explore that area in order to like get the Ocarina of Time outfit, which is the one that I use for the rest of the game. Which is the
Oh yeah. A lot of the stuff you can get through the amiibo if you have them.
yeah. Like if you had the amiibo like for Breath of the Wild or just the ones to like they're both useful here, but also you can find them for free in the actual game.
Yeah. Which is a nice way to do that.
I feel that's a fair way to do it. And in my case, like, what was your highlight in the depths? Like, what will be your highlight moment there?
Highlight moment of the depths. God, it's hard to really just. It's hard to say any. I'm trying to think of like something unique that happened down there, which. I mean, I rode a dragon through the depths once.
Oh yeah,
What?
At least
Yeah. So I didn't realize this. I didn't know this, and then I sort of did it. So the dragons, when they're flying out in the overworld, they actually have a set path that they fly in the overworld, and then they go into a hole underground, and then they actually fly underground.
Oh.
And yeah, so I didn't know. So I saw a dragon getting ready to go in from above, and I was like, oh, I'm going to follow it and see what happens. I kind of thought it was going to despawn next to me. So I go down the hole alongside it. I'm doing like the gliding dive alongside it. And then when it reaches like the level of underground, it arches up and it starts flying like straight through the and I've landed on it because I had it was the lightning one.
Yeah.
Pharaoh,
yeah.
It was the lightning one, and I have the lightning helmet. The helmet that lets me lightning just bounces off of me. And so I was on the dragon, and I'm running around, and I'm grabbing all of the things off of the spikes. And when you get an item from it, I think it's like 5 or 10 minutes before it reignites, and then you can get another item. So like the fang or the claw or the horn.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah, so I did it, and I just hung out. I sat there, and then I let the dragon fly through the underground. I took a bunch of pictures, but I didn't post any of them because I didn't want it to be a spoiler. And then when it got to a certain point, it goes up. And there's a weird loading glitch because I guess you're not really intended to do that. But you're on the dragon, and it goes up the tunnel, up the chasm, and then pops back out into the overworld.
Yeah, but
So
that's basically
but that moment was like, oh my god, I don't know why this is so amazing to me, but I'm just I was, and I had already unlocked all of the underground areas, the light routes and stuff, so I could see very clearly, and it was just looking around and like, oh, look at the little tour that the dragon's taking me on. This is so amazing.
Yeah, from what my understanding, well, like two things. First off, they fixed quote unquote fixed the time exploit that you can do on the dragons. Like that set path is in real time. Like it is not related to the time of the day or anything. So like if you decide to if it's night and the dragon leaves and you try to put it to be night again, it's not gonna help. Like the dragon will still be where it stood before you did that, which is it's a pain in the ass when you're trying to look for the light dragon, but that's a different thing that I'm gonna get into in a little bit. But,
yeah, that was you're right. That was something in Breath. I actually did a video about that. That was a thing in Breath of the Wild where if you are in the right spots at the right time, you can farm the dragons easily. And then I made a video on how to do it. Like you have to be in one spot. And you have to sleep at the inn until the morning, and then when you go there, this dragon will be out. And then when you get to and you warp to this shrine, and this dragon is right there. And then you warp to this other shrine, and this dragon is running right there. You have to run up and get it. And then you go back to the first inn, you stay until morning, and then it resets, and you do it all over again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't work this time. They're on some sort of global timer or something.
And that's also kind of how like what you mentioned about the little glitch on by going between the depths and Hyrule. That's basically the mechanic or the thing that they cannot figure out, and why the Minoru dupe glitch works. Like you're basically changing the items right on a crossing point between the depths and Hyrule Field, so they get stuck once they cross that area. And if you use a Lionel bow and arrow, you get the goodies like multiplied by the amount of arrows that got multiplied.
Oh, okay.
Like that's basically what I did, and my highlight is exactly that, like the Majora's Coliseum, like where you're just fighting 5 Lionels at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but like in a row.
Stumbled onto that one by accident.
No, same because I believe that one is exactly right beneath the actual one in Hyrule Field.
Yeah, of everything. No, that's not the one below Hyrule Field. That's the one below the Coliseum on the surface.
That's what I mean. Like the Majora one is beneath, in the depths where the Majora's Coliseum is located. That's where the other one is, like the one in Hyrule Field where you find a Thunder Gleeok. Where you find...
Yeah.
By the way,
on the surface, it's called the Coliseum.
Yeah. And it makes sense why that. Like I still think that it wasn't the hardest one once you figure out. But I checked out the recording files, and that fight took me 30 minutes to actually do.
For the Lionels?
Like for the Lionels, because all I had was the dupe glitch with diamonds, and the same amount of weapon slots from the beginning, because I still hadn't found Hetsu until way later. So I was just fighting them with the weapons that I had, using diamonds and constantly fusing them back up. And when I will defeat a Lionel, I would just get the fucking thing or the weapon and start fusing before the next Lionel came to me.
That's the best thing you can do. I mean, that's the fuse system. I think is probably one of the more genius things in the game.
Yeah, and at this point, I might as well actually because it's the one that is the one thing that's the easiest to get lost into it. Let's just talk about Ultra Hand, easily the one thing that makes this game stand out from the actual from Breath of the Wild. What do you think? Because I have a lot of things to say on that one, but I would like to hear you first.
A genius mechanic. The Ultra Hand specifically, terrific mechanic. I accept, however, that it can feel like the game is really requiring you to know what you're doing with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be overwhelming for a lot of people. The reality is it doesn't require it a lot, but you can use it a lot.
Yeah.
It feels like for the most part there isn't anything that is absolutely reliant on you being a master builder with the Ultra Hand. But if you are a master builder, there's almost nothing you can't do.
Yep.
Yeah, when it's a matter of learning the one or two things here. Like the most iconic one is the different combinations for what's known as the Green Gobbler, which is just one steer and two fans. But but depending on but you have at least 3 different angles that you can place it in, either fully horizontal to help you with verticality, or start inclining them a little bit so you can even use them as a way to travel around water and stuff. But I feel that first off, if you go online, even if you're not a fan of the series or even the game, the amount of stuff that people can create is first off very morbid.
It feels like its own game in a way. It feels like you could, if you were to expand the Ultra Hand capabilities to building materials, and if there was some way to lock a structure in place that it just permanently remains on the map, there'd be people that would just build all day long. and
Yeah.
they wouldn't do anything else in the game.
No, and they probably
Yeah.
have done exactly that. Like just be like, I don't know. I don't really understand how somebody did that, but somebody made a computer on this game. On this,
I saw that. Yeah.
like the way it works is
Oh.
that apparently it's nothing too complex. Like you're not gonna be able to emulate SNES or NES games on this thing, but they managed to like
oh,
build.
this was like a Zonai device controller.
Yeah, they apparently they managed to create something that works under the binary system, like actual like
Yeah.
ones and zeros.
Like
And-
it was like a logic base, like a logic gate system or something, and it was like, wow, this actually works.
Like, but
Are you seeing the music now?
the what now?
The music?
Oh yeah, the people are using the little like some stacks to actually create music on it.
Yeah, they're using
Really?
the emitters. Yeah, they're using the emitters and those stakes that you can fuse into the ground. And they figured out a way, like based on how far away the stakes are from the emitters, and how many they've got the emitters on like a spinning wheel, and the way it hits everything, they can change the notes.
Yeah, like depending on how deep you put the spear into the ground, like either too much or too little, it will create a different sound.
Yeah.
And they basically make Mario Paint 2 Mario. Like, but
That's honestly amazing. Like the fun, it's just the only thing that I've relatively seen on like the side of the internet when it comes to like, people being creative with the system is just like being creative with making like vehicles and someone crucifying a Korok.
That's adorable that you said someone, like it didn't happen 1,000 times over.
oh, and
True, very true.
and if it's not crucifying them, like put them on put in like fucking roast chicken, like on a spinning wheel.
Oh yeah. The only time I did that, I didn't actually. I kind of knew it wasn't gonna work, but I thought it would be funny. I realized that you could. That was the first time I realized you could fuse anything to them. So I fused the rocket to one,
Yeah.
and I aimed it like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. So like I aimed it specific. Like I was actually trying to get it to the thing because it was further out and then it was down. It was like a big chasm. So I figured, all right, I'll fire the rocket, and it'll probably sag, right? Because it's heavy, so it's going to droop down. And basically, it'll get me close enough so that I can just carry it the rest of the way, rather than figure out some obnoxious way to get it down, or to just drop it off like Mario dropping off a penguin. I fused it, and I hit the rocket, and I thought that the rocket was going to go down more than it was going to go up and straight, and I have no idea where that Korok ended up.
Yeah.
That Korok went to the moon.
It flew off, and I laughed, and I laughed so hard I took my eyes off the screen for a second, and then when I did, once I looked back, I realized I wherever it went, I missed it. I have no idea where this thing is.
Yeah, no, and granted, I have seen I think I know the one. Well, it might vary depending on which one, but I've seen people like definitely having to do some sort of like gymnastic physics in order to like actually pull exactly what you're saying, because some of those can actually be very difficult on how you pull them off exactly like that, of just attaching a rocket and maybe a wing and just waiting for the best. Like, well,
Yeah.
but there's people that can manage to like properly do the precision on that part. But like it's just that, like, for example, I'm showcasing the little thing on the Zonai construct in the depths, and because it's the best way to showcase, like, if you know exactly what exactly everything does, you can just break the entire game in half. Like,
Yeah.
like you can just use the different certain artifacts in different areas. You can combine. Apparently you can even combine a weapon with the balls in the shrines, and if you toss them into the switch that they had to, that you're supposed to throw the ball, like, it will connect. It's a weapon, but it connected.
Like the big switches that are targets.
Yeah.
You know, you can just shoot those with bomb arrows.
Oh, I did not know that, but good to know.
Just shoot it with a bomb arrow and it triggers it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it has to be one or if it has to be like the triple arrow, like the Lino bows and stuff. but I'm pretty sure you can just shoot it with a bomb arrow, and it triggers all of those switches.
Oh, I'm not quite sure. Like because the one thing that I didn't know was like, you put this block or this ball, fuse it with a spear for the sake of distance, and then toss it, and that counts. And that
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
like in for instance, or the one limitation that they give you in this, at least in the shrines, is that you cannot use fusion or no, you cannot use sonite devices in the shrines. Like you can, like if you have collect them, you cannot use them. But if you fuse, let's say, shields and rockets before entering the shrine, you can basically skip the entire puzzle if you just know where to look.
Oh, okay.
Like let's say, this test of ascension, like you need to use ascend in this area and this area, and you're like, or I'm just gonna use a rocket, whoom, and I'm done.
Yep. Stick a rocket to your shield.
Yep.
It'll change your life.
Yeah, no, like again, like I get why they thought the best compromise was to just not let you do that when you're in it, but again, like it's just insane the amount of things that you can just pull off from. Again, and that's just with Ultra Hand, because I can easily, or again, like just for the sake of it, like it's just that the other techniques, they don't really matter all that much at least in comparison to what. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go. I'm fine.
No, I want you to finish your thought, because I don't know that I fully agree on that.
No.
But I want you to finish your thought first.
No, it's just like for instance, like I know for a fact that the reverse, for instance, like that one also breaks the game in half if you know how to position it and then use the rewind feature at your control. And fusion also like kind of helps you with that. Fusion is the one that kind of feels like the most mandatory one, because every enemy packs a punch. Like every enemy can just tank everything that you throw at them, unless they're expecting you to constantly be fusing your weapons for different occasions, so they can. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to go anywhere with just the basic sword, because from my understanding, and that's the game's story implemented into the game, they don't let you. The weapons are weaker, like they are canonically weaker because of Ganondorf.
Yeah, they're all like corrupted and rusted and stuff.
Okay, I would like to hear your thoughts. I would like.
So I mean, speaking to the fact that the Ultra Hand is vastly the one that you use the most. I don't know that I totally agree, just because it's just the one that we use the most. You know, the game does give you options to not use it anywhere near as much as most of us did, but let's be honest, most of us did. But you brought it up, the fusing for the weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
And the game gets drastically easier when you realize that you have to do that and you start doing it. You know, I don't know about you and Solar. I spent a good chunk of the beginning of the game using rusty swords and the Zonai handles, where it was like a light sword when you actually swung it like a weapon.
Yeah.
And when it finally clicked in my brain, fuse things that you have. Like, when I realized that I could do that, and I realized that it made my swords stronger, I was like, there's no reason to ever use a weapon that doesn't have something fused to it.
Yeah, like the only reason why I think you wouldn't actually do that is just for the sake of not being sure. Like because sometimes that will happen to me a couple of times, where like, oh, I have everything attached to either a diamond or a Lionel horn. Oh, but those things don't work in the mines, where you need to have an actual rock you have to attach to it when you.
And even then, I usually tried to make sure that I had a heavy weapon with a rock on it. I had some that were set up to cut. I had some that, because if you fuse everything to your weapons that are like blunt, like a rock, and the silver Bokoblin horn, for instance, with that little weird pom pom on it.
Yeah.
those now they don't cut. So now when you have to cut vines or something, your sword actually won't work.
Mhm.
So sometimes I'd make sure that I had, you know, a heavy weapons to break rocks, bladed weapons so that I can cut. But yeah, once I did that, I had no problem. Like, very rarely did I hang onto a weapon with the intent of, well, this is going to be my multi-purpose. I'll make what I need when I need it. I just made a bunch of everything, and then when they broke, I had no concerns about, oh, I'm stuck without a weapon. Just grab a stick and fuse a bokoblin horn to it, and there you go.
Yeah, I can give you that one. Like, yeah, like definitely, like Fuse also is an easy contender. Like it's just that like the way it might be that factor. Like the way the way things ended up like piling up once you use like for instance like I'm showing right here like. The game wants me to like attach a couple wheels to the thing to open the door, but I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna revert this door, keep it open, and then just walk through.
Yeah, which is a very, very simple thing you can do that actually works.
Yeah,
You know, you feel like a wizard the first time you take a platform and you hold it up, and then you put it down, and then you step on it, and you hit reverse, and then it becomes a floating platform, and you just jump up to the next area that you need to go to.
yeah.
You're like, oh my god, I'm so smart.
And that probably leads me to like the next part before we start actually like jumping heavy into like other into like the deeper elements. Like, what did you think of the way the shrines were implemented in this game?
I thought they were good. I like the way that they're done. I like the variety. I like that sometimes you have to find them. Sometimes you have to find the thing outside and get it to them. Some of them were combat. Some of them were more puzzly. You know, you had a couple that were just gimmies for finding them. I think they do a good job of testing your abilities, while at the same time, in a way, testing your ability to break them. You know, yeah there were some where you have to really struggle to figure out what to do, or you just have to do whatever it is that you have to do. And then there were some that it was easier to find some way to not do it the way they want you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is satisfying for everybody. Or there's something that everyone can be satisfied with.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of but I know it's a quote unquote debate in the community, but it kind of reminds me of how what makes Metroid special for a lot of people, like the quote unquote dilemma of like, oh, you're not sequence breaking. The developers designed it so you can figure this kind of stuff if you want. There's always a bunch of stuff that I feel in both instances were like, no, this is definitely something that they probably left in there for people to like either figure out or exploit, because given the nature in which the game is designed, like they're not gonna pull up something like how Sonic Frontiers does it, where they change the entire gameplay presets and settings when you're in the shrines, or in this in that game's case, cyberspace. It's still the same game, only on a different level design. So if you have the same skills, you have the same abilities, you have the same limitations, and that leads to a lot of in all honesty, like crazy possibilities, because in some areas it feels like this game just has a constant debug mode activated, you know. Or again, like, it wants you to try to test out a lot of different things. Like for instance, like I don't know if I need to find it. Like here, like there's this one shrine that it was all about like, oh, you need to like use the slides and then reverse time, like to get into the next topic, into the next area, because it's covered in sand. My brain just said, I'm just gonna grab all the slides, make a blank, and just get back and just get up there and just get a.
Oh, okay.
I
probably just got on them and reversed them.
Exactly. I feel like I did 3 laps to make a right, but it's just that's what the game lets you to do, and
it worked.
Exactly.
Hell, like I feel that the game, the way the shrines are always structured, like it goes back to that debate that people have had since Breath of the Wild. Like, are these a proper replacement for traditional dungeons in terms of like how the puzzles are structured?
Do I think that they're a proper replacement? They're an adequate replacement. I think that that's fine. I think that as far as the puzzle solving, if you're just looking for puzzles to solve, I think that they do pretty well. It's such a weird thing because the way you can break them, a lot of people think that sort of changes how they sort of feel. I like them as what they are. I mean, obviously, it's not the same as a full blown dungeon. I think there was one of these shrines where there's a couple of them where you have to get a key, and I remember thinking, oh my god, they made them more elaborate, and then it really was just a handful of them where they did that, and it was like, oh well, that's kind of a bummer. But yeah, I think that they're good. I like them. I think that there's something to do. It's optional as to how much or how little you do. If I have a fault with them, it's that I don't like that they're the only way to get heart containers. I'm not actually a fan of that. I wish that there were other way to get heart containers, and which leads into a topic probably for later, which is what I'm
the actual dungeons.
Not necessarily the actual dungeons. It has more to do with the amount of things in the game, and yeah, I think that it's great that there's so much stuff you can do. I think that it's great that not all of it is mandatory, but for somebody who does want something a little bit more traditional, because everybody says you can do that. Everybody says, "Oh, well, the game tells you the 4 places that you have to go to, and you can just go to those places." And then that opens up a 5th place, and then that opens up the decision to go down underground. Great, you can do that. You're gonna have 8 hearts.
Yeah, and given a certain mechanic. First off, once again, like the gloom mechanic, and then a specific mechanic for the final boss, There's even a reason, because I don't have any footage regarding that one. Like, there's a reason why the 5th temple requires you to get 10 hearts. Like, which is first off, that is the one small moment where I felt arbitrary level design or game design, because the game never tells you that you're gonna need that ever again after the beginning.
Oh, you have to have a heart requirement. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, you need to have a heart requirement to do that. Like, that's the one thing that I knew, the one thing that I went out of my way to do, because again, it was part of the requirements that I needed in order to get the dupe glitch, because it's exactly on that section. But it's just that overall, I think that the shrines are in a general sense that they are definitely a step up from what from the shrines in Breath of the Wild. I feel that these ones, like in general, are more strategic, or at the very least leave your mind open to a lot more interpretations. And my favorites sometimes are like the ones in Sky Islands, because since they're all just about bring the rock here, sometimes I will just have to figure out the structure that I need to develop in order to properly carry the goddamn thing all over there.
Which is great. It's just it's not what people are used to for Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
So I acknowledge the complaint of this doesn't feel like a quote unquote a Zelda game.
It might be the personal trigger that I get with that, because I've heard that conversation for the last 30 years on a certain Blue Rat. Oh, it's a good game, but it's not a good thing. Shut up. Shut up.
And see, and this is the thing. I actually agree with it for Zelda, for Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been an open world game like this. I always talk about how Zelda 1 was an open world game, the very first game, which it technically it was, but you're so limited as to what you can do. So it's not even close to the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the fundamental Zelda experience has always been the fundamental Zelda experience, and these games don't offer it. They're not the same thing. This isn't like the Final Fantasy discussion where 16 is not my Final Fantasy. This isn't the kind of Final Fantasy that I'm used to, but Final Fantasy is different every game. There are fundamental differences in how every game works, and even back when they were all turn-based, the turn-based was different. And slowly but surely, the aesthetics changed, the combat changed. It was turn-based, it was action-based, it was somewhere in the middle. It was a whole bunch of different things. So the idea of something like Final Fantasy, and, oh, that's not my Final Fantasy. No, they always sort of change up the formula, but Zelda never really did. Zelda was, you find out what's going on. There's a bunch of MacGuffins you have to collect, so you have to go into dungeons or shrines or towers or labyrinths, and you get them, and then you do other things, and then you beat the game.
It's just that,
and that wasn't these games.
Mm-hmm. Like it's just that there is a weird case, at least for me to like properly like get into that, because like whenever like, because you brought up all that list, like dungeons, puzzles, like story, like items and all, like all those things they are here, but I completely understand what people mean when that's the conversation, because it's definitely not the same. Like hell, like, I can easily,
they're vastly disorganized.
Like I can easily just get into that by the main difference, like, which is the dungeons, like the dungeons, temples, or whatever name you want to use. Like, well, first off, I felt that the real thing that felt traditional Zelda was everything but the temples. And by that I mean the build up to get to them. Like when you're in the Gerudo Desert, like the entire process of getting to Riju, like help the kingdom or the tribe, or the Gerudo village. Sorry, to fight the Gibdo, finding the lights to connect the dots, to get into the Sky Temple, how to clean out the water inside in Sora's domain, reaching Sky Temple. All of that felt completely like similar to how you will play in Twilight Princess or
more traditional.
Yeah, it was a time where I found when it kind of clicked to me what people meant by that, because whenever I hear like, oh, it doesn't have traditional dungeons or traditional puzzles, and I'm like, well, yeah, it does. It's just that instead of having everything in one temple, you have the shrines, you have the little challenges in every temple, or you have once again like the Hyrule Field in and of itself as its entire dungeon. But now I actually kind of get the difference, because when you are doing these ones, like the process to get to the dungeons, it reminded me of how you will be playing, at the very least, the 3D Zelda games. Which is like, oh, you have to do this exact thing and solve this exact puzzle at this exact time.
Yeah, and there's probably one way to do it. Maybe there might be two ways to do it. Whereas in something like this, and that's probably going to leak into the dungeon discussion. But oh, we want you to do these things, or I can just build this goofy contraption.
Yeah,
and fly to the top.
Which I think is once again is one of the things in which both Breath of the Wild, but mostly Tears of the Kingdom, because of its nature, shined the most. Which was like how much can you get away without or with certain things, because Breath of the Wild had the nature, even more than this one, of how much the game is designed for you to do without anything. Like if you are completely naked with only a weapon or even a sword, with no divine beasts or no actual resolution, like from the previous one, like how much can you get away? The game actually had a bit of a dynamic with that. Here there's more layers to it. Like, oh, how much can you get away without these items, or by using these items instead? Like how much can you actually do? And I think that's part of this game pushes more creativity than the puzzle solving in traditional games.
Yeah.
Because even hell, I'm showing it right. I'm showing it on the screen. Like I'm using a freaking bounce pad, but to like solve this one puzzle. Because I'm a fucking idiot that didn't know that you can just use tooling to like get the call without being in the air.
Oh, okay.
like I didn't know you can ask for it to do it when you're standing still. That was a problem. But then in the fire temple, for instance, I don't know how you do that game like that temple on your own. I did the.
Yeah, all the mine carts and stuff. It was just putting mine carts back together. Like that's I for the most part I did it that way, and then I had to keep telling myself that I could use Ascend and solve some of the problems there.
By that I mean that for the most part, what I did was just like I used the Green Goblin and just flew all over the area, just and finding the like I did not explore. I don't know how that place actually looks.
It's all like you put a Minecraft, you put a mine cart with a fan on it, and it takes you up to a certain spot, and then that gives you the ability to turn the minecart rails and the tracks and line up the tracks and stuff. Like that's how you do it. And which you circumvent a lot of that if you just fly around, if you've got the little glider or something, or you do what I did. I made like a hot air balloon and flew to the top and then just hopped from floor to floor looking for the things that I needed.
Funny you say that because right now I'm showcasing a little clip.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and like that's sort of what I did. Is I went up and I did that.
And at some point I get tired and I just use one of the schematics and just build a giant plank and toss Junovo right into it. And there's even like a certain funny thing that happens. The temples ended up themselves, with the exception of the lightning one. All of them are just completely out in the open. Like you can just get there.
Yeah,
and
they're part of the map.
And
they're not instances. They're not like closed off and it loads a different area. It's just on the map.
Yeah, and that seriously threw me off because there was one time I think like when reaching the water temple, I got there by complete accident. I was looking for the light dragon, and I got there by complete accident. So like here I was just figuring out how to do anything in that area, because I thought, oh, maybe you don't need to do anything, and no, you need the certain partners. In order to like get access to the area, and again it's those little things where that actually clicked with me, like what people meant by traditional Zelda, because this game can sometimes, mostly with the dungeons or the way the story is implemented into the open world, can be a little too open, and you don't know what you're doing wrong, or if you're doing something right, or ahead of time or before time. Hell, the whole side quest to find Minoru, I don't know how to do that. Because I was just exploring the Thunder Island by being covered in clouds, and found the shrine, and then I found Minoru. Like that was it.
Yeah.
Like I go ahead.
I did the same thing. I went and I explored. There's 2 shrines up there, by the way.
Yeah.
Which I learned about later, very frustratingly. But yeah, I didn't know that you could turn that off eventually, that you'd be able to stop the storm. So I explored that whole thing, just staggering my way through it. And it wasn't until later when I actually did the quest and I actually found out how to get all of that I cleared it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't. I mean, I feel accomplished for having done it on my own, but I didn't know that just naturally playing the game in the way that they tell you to would lead you to clearing this up.
Mm-hmm. And that's it's always a risky thing for when it comes to discussing that aspect, because it's a matter of how certain things click with you and how or the mechanics. Like obviously, I was lucky enough that first off I already fell in love with Breath of the Wild, so this nature is already like kind of set like by hand to me. Like I it's like riding a bike for me to just like, okay, how do I break this in half? Because I want to break this in half. But I know for some other people that's not the case. I dare to question whether or not that's more of a, like, I don't want to say those terms because I don't think that's the case at all. But like then you have cases where like, this sucks because I don't get it. Like, yeah, that's the game's problem. Okay, that's the game's problem.
Yeah.
But it's just that like this is in some areas, Tears of the Kingdom is, and I do dare to say it with enough knowledge on the genre. I do think that Tears of the Kingdom is the perfect open world game, but that definitely comes with its pros and cons. Like by being exactly that, like open, like it's the epitome of you can do anything whenever you're, and depending on how you do it, you're gonna have either the easiest time or the worst time in your entire life.
Yeah, you can set your own adventure in a sense, but yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite examples of that. Outside of something like an MMO, where there's a lot more gating in that, and then one of the things one of the reasons it works for me is just the aesthetic. You have games like Skyrim where you can do that, and there's a lot of places you can go and a lot of things you can do, but the game is so gloomy and atmosphere wise, it's very dark, gray, sort of depressing kind of game to look at. So you can only go so long before you just don't want to look at it anymore.
Right.
Whereas this was just visually striking. It was very interesting. You go to the sky, and when you jump off of the sky islands, there's this seamless transition into the ground, and the exploration on the ground is amazing, and where you can go, and when you make it underground, it's this whole the amount of just amazement and wonderment when you're underground and everything is pitch black, and they do so many things that make just the exploration astounding.
Yeah,
and it does that better than any large scale open world game that I've ever played.
Yeah, like the same on my end, and again, I got my share of games like Fallout New Vegas, like a lot of Bethesda games, then the Ubisoft games, like that. I really dare to say like that this game, more than Breath of the Wild, which even then it like Breath of the Wild is still on the top, like also on the top on that area, but like this game, there's very little competition in terms of the nature of open world by definition, and you bring up the environments and all. I can actually bring which can be a perfect transition to some more in-depth elements, and that's just the way the characters and the world is created. And somebody bring this up very preferably, like the way Pura specifically is introduced is actually astonishing. It's actually perfect, because up until that point, you're in a depressing setting. You're the only person that talks to you is a ghost or a robot. You're on your own, and you are just told that Zelda is completely missing, and you must find her. Pura is the first character that you find that is actually friendly, and then you can feel safe by being around there.
Yeah. You got a little bit of that Zelda quirk.
Mm-hmm. And just I love the fact that all of the ancestors or the successors, the champions, get their screen time, except the one in Rito Village. They just shafted that poor guy and passed the kid to be the actual protagonist in that story. But I also
I noticed he didn't get much screen time. Yeah.
Yeah. But
you gotta make way for the new people.
Yeah, but you didn't even give Pat to the previous one. The story with all the characters, I do like I like Ryu, the way Ryu's character develops is actually very interesting for my liking. A character that's that still struggles to be young but be a leader, which is a contrast to Tulin, which a little guy that already thinks the world is beneath him, until he has his realities checked a little bit when fighting the little monsters, and then it's just that the characters in this game are actually very endearing to me, mostly because of the fact that, again, 6 years ago, we got to meet these characters and see them develop in this way is actually really special, at least for in my case. And even the little side quest with Hudson, with Hudson and his daughter.
Oh God, yeah.
That one was beautiful. I was just trying to get my house, and I didn't expect to actually care. Uh, but again, you get all those little things that it feels like they do assume, at the very least story wise, that you played Breath of the Wild. Otherwise, all these moments are not gonna feel all that impactful. You're gonna be like, why do I care about this character? Or why do I care about this one? Like, because you met them. You met them before everything, and now you're seeing them having all these resolutions and even people in their lives, like how Sidon, for as much of an optimistic go lucky person he is, he obviously grieves the loss of his sister, um, which is probably the one thing that I kind of felt a little off. The champions are barely mentioned,
The original champions.
and yeah, the original champion like Mifa,
Yeah.
like Daru, I think, Falco, because that's what he is. That's what he.
Yeah.
Uh, and Urbosa, like all of them are completely absent except Mifa, like because if she's mentioned just for at the end of Sidon's quest. Um, but I do also feel that the characters that we got to meet previously, with the exception of the father in Rito Village, like all of them got enough screen time to actually become characters. Or I don't know, like what do you think of the way all of the characters are properly introduced? Like at least the ones in the present, to put it that way, because I will get into the past in a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't have too much of a problem with it. Granted, I am coming from somebody who played Breath of the Wild. Yeah, without the Breath of the Wild knowledge, it does feel like some things are sort of left behind, and you're just left to assume that you know certain things, or oh, okay, I guess Link knows that person, and you don't really get a lot of context into what sort of happened. But I don't think I found it invasive. I don't think I found that it. I don't think I felt like a lot of people would be sitting there saying, "Why should I care so much?"
Yeah.
Because I do think that they made a good point to set certain things up. I think that Sidon, there was a good effort to explain why it was personal to him. Tulin, I thought, for the most part, was a relatively generic story about, oh, he's the kid with a lot of power, but he thinks he can do it all, so he needs to learn teamwork, which I thought worked very well. I don't mean to make it sound like it was a weak character. Riju was probably the one that I thought people are not going to realize that we have a history with this person, and it almost feels like they come out of nowhere more than any of the other ones. Like Yunobo, there was some story there with him, but I feel like Riju's the one that was like, oh wait, who is this? I don't understand. Like why are we supposed to care? Other than the fact that she's the leader of Gerudo Town, which seems kind of awkward because there's a lot of other highly qualified thick ladies around that I'm sure could fill that position.
Right.
And so, like, why this one? And I feel like we didn't get enough explanation for that, and that all came from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And again, not to say that it hurt. Like, I sat there thinking, I'm trying to have a good time, but I don't know who this is. But I was somebody who knew who that was.
Yeah, like the only kind of exposition that you get in Tears of the Kingdom is the fact that she can control lightning to a degree. But even it's because of Breath of the Wild that you know why she can only control it to a certain degree, or why she needs your help to control it properly.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a cool, a very cute mechanic, like to be able to she can do Urbosa's attack, but she cannot aim. You need to use the arrow for her to concentrate. Okay, that's cool.
Which was a great mechanic. That was a really useful mechanic.
And like the one that apparently is completely broken is Junobo, which is like just a giant rocket that you can just toss, especially if you're in a Sonai construct. Like
yeah.
Like if you're riding a
vehicle.
Yeah,
his was pretty useful for just traversal. So was hers. So was Riju's. I used them for like breaking rocks and attacking certain enemies and stuff, and they were both pretty useful for it. Ironically, Sidon I felt like was the least useful.
Yeah, definitely a complete step low level from how from Mifa, who was into a very useful and kind of unbalanced skill to just heal you out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, but and Tooling was a bit of a also a small nerf because he helps more like a boost rather than an actual aircraft. But you also or an air boost, but you can just use a rocket to replace Revali's.
Yeah, I mean, but even that, like I remember people were saying like, oh, I kind of wish you could do that. And one of the things that I think a lot of people had to remember that you can do was ascend.
Oh yeah, that too.
There were tons of moments where people said, "Oh, I wish I could get up there, and I wish I had Revali's Gale." And it's just like strap a rocket to your shield or use Ascend. Ascend is the thing that's built in, and you just have to figure out how to use. Like once it really clicked in my brain that I need to use Ascend a lot, that was when I was like, "Oh, okay, wait, this is actually it solves a lot of problems."
Yeah, no, I'm on the same boat. Like it was the one that took me the most time to like remember that I had. Yeah. Because when you're first exploring, like you rarely feel like you rarely remember that you have that ability. Like for some reason it just felt weird for but once it clicked again, everything made sense. Like once again, everything.
Yeah.
But like like they help bring a different kind of tone, which is the one thing that I always feel that separates Zelda from any other medieval kind of setting, or like with any kind of setting that's similar to this of exploring and saving the kingdom and fighting almost an indestructible monster, which is the sense of hope that the Legend of Zelda always tries to bring. There's a couple of articles that I have read about this of what makes Zelda dark but also special, and is the fact that even in the worst possible scenario, there's always a certain presence of hope in the entire series in the story.
Yeah.
Like either with Link or just like with the way everything is structured, and with that I actually will like to like get into like probably the main meat and potatoes of this, which is the actual story, like, or the story beyond everything, which is that basically what happened is Zelda grabbed a little what seems to be a little bean, because those are not tears, though they look like beans as far as I'm concerned. As far as like, but they Zelda grabs that before the attack of Ganon, and she just vanishes out of nowhere. Like she completely vanishes, and while Link is trying to like survive and just get everything figured out, Zelda is in the past. Like now Zelda is the one that's living in the past, but we're talking like full on the very beginning of Hyrule, meeting yet another important character, like, which I think it gets a little underutilized, Sonia and Rauru, when they were creating Hyrule Kingdom. It's kind of odd, like, to just see all this kind of stories, like, because Zelda has always been an interesting world that has been created. What, like, is this still related to every other game? Like, is this after Skyward Sword, or are those games not important anymore?
Yeah, like I remember, like when I first saw the flashbacks, like just the first few, like I honestly thought, because when the reveal trailer was shown, it's like, oh, there's this world in the sky. I'm just like, oh, that's like Skyward Sword, isn't it? And then, then the first trailer. I'm not sure if I can't remember how many trailers there were, but there was a trailer. It was the first one that revealed it, and it was all the creepy reversed music and the gloom, but we didn't know it was the gloom. that strange, dark, creepy energy. People thought like, oh, is this gonna have like a Twilight Princess reference or something? Like people, like honestly, I wondered how much this was going to tie into anything, if at all. Because they were saying like they found like Rauru and Sonya were saying like they're the founders of Hyrule. So I was wondering if it was going to reference even anything, and it does not. Not really.
Well, the what I understand about the Zelda timeline is that it's all sort of interconnected. If I understand it properly, it's that while it doesn't necessarily have to do with each other, it's interconnected in the sense that the land, the people die and then they're reborn, and but this cycle somehow always continues. So basically, it's the same land, it's the same planet or whatever you would call it of Hyrule, right. And then, but then generations pass, and Hyrule Kingdom has fallen, and Hyrule Kingdom's been reborn, or Hyrule Kingdom is being led by a different group of people that something different is happening, and in this version, Zelda is born this way, and Link is born this way, and Ganon's born this way. And so that's pretty much... So, like, as far as... I was wondering about where this game was in direct relation to Breath of the Wild, how many years later it is, which I'm still not entirely sure.
It's at the very least around 10 years, like at most, better said, like around 10 years. And my only basis for that is again Hudson's daughter, like the fact that there's because Pura, they do explain that Pura changed back, like she used her same youth her witchcraft, as far as I'm concerned, to get back to being an adult, like she didn't age.
It's called science.
Tomato.
Science.
I know.
Don't you bash my queen's science.
No, I don't. But like there's a like she artificially went back to her age. Like she didn't just age naturally. But but at the very least, there are some bases again, like tooling as well. Like there's enough to evidence that there's at least enough time that where newborn has happened. We're new.
Yeah. I remember hearing somebody say that it was something like 6 years, maybe a little bit more, and it's just like, all right, but it just feels like not a lot. Like, excuse me. It just feels very close for us to, was everything fine? Like, did we not rebuild Hyrule Castle in that time? Because the castle, like, I get that the gloom kind of screwed everything up, but the castle doesn't look like it's been lived in for longer than 6 years.
Yeah, no, it kind of looked like it got worse since you fought Calamity Ganon. Like
yeah, like they defeated Ganon, and then they never went back into the castle.
Yeah, no, which
so it was kind of confusing me.
A kind of cute detail, like apparently, like this game is the one that it's not as in your face as a Skyward Sword, but this game establishes even more that Link and Zelda became a thing because they live together. At least that's for sure. They live. Yeah. Zelda, if you go back to your original house in Breath of the Wild, Zelda lives there. So.
Oh wow.
And but even once again, I could easily get into that part, but like it even seems like there's apparently this one thing in time travel discussions which is called a dragon break. It's possible that even within Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, there's already a second timeline. There's already, like Tears of the Kingdom is its own thing. Like after Zelda separates, or even as soon as they find Ganondorf, it's a completely different area.
That was because that was one thing that like the more I thought about, because this just happens with time travel plots. Like the moment you start thinking about it, you start thinking questions that keep going in circles. Because like what I was thinking about is that like if this is like a possible time loop. Because, since I mean, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but with Zelda becoming the light dragon, does that mean at the beginning of this game, when you were in the depths with her, was Dragon her already flying in the sky? So two
Apparently,
Zeldas were
yeah.
in one place at once? So
Technically, yes. That would mean that she's been flying around the entire time. It could easily have been that she was hiding away until the time to reveal herself, because, you know, if she was flying around and a 5-year-old Link looked up and said, "Hey, that dragon's got the Master Sword attached to it,"
Yeah.
like that would have come out. So I would take it just as, yeah, she was the dragon the whole time, but maybe she was in hiding, you know, dragon slumbering in the mountain or something, and
Right.
and in all honesty, you could even say that had something to do with the depths, and that the depths were this giant place that were not created with gloom, but they've existed. So this entire time, that could have been where the dragons slept.
Which even that also brings a bit of a kind of a bit of a reality with like in actual like in real life context, that I cannot help but feel that Breath of the Wild was a success that Nintendo was not anticipating, because this story does not feel very well connected with Breath of the Wild story. Like just in general, like even if we go like, because that's what it is, like the direct sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, like, and you're like, okay, in this game I can just look up and see all the islands. Why couldn't I see them before? Why
Well, wasn't it the whole Calamity thing with the castle that raised all of that stuff at the same time?
no, but from what I've
the gloom pushed the castle up, did that raise everything else up, or no?
No, because if you when you get the Sora armor, you unlock a certain quest in the Great Sky Island, that like to turn three fires, and they explain to you that after everything that happened in the Tears of the Dragon quest, the sages like fucking somehow. Were the ones that raised the entire like all these.
That's right.
All the islands.
So that happened within the past 6 years?
No,
of the game.
No, those things were already up. Like they say that after Zelda becomes a light dragon, somehow the original sages put the islands up like in the sky. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know how that happens, because where were they in Breath of the Wild? And then, I mean, even then, it's like, so wait, was Ganondorf?
Which is
was it the same? Was it the same guy? Is this the same Ganon? Like it is. When you stick your head in and you look a little bit closer, you are kind of like, well, wait, this doesn't really make sense. How does this work?
Yeah,
this is the same thing or different.
And that's what leads me to actually start talking about him, because I think he deserves his own bit of an explanation. Like they say right at the very end, like right when you're fighting Calamity Ganon, they told you right in your face, for generations Calamity Ganon stopped reincarnating because of all the previous failures and how everything went to how things are. Then what the fuck is Ganondorf? Like is he still is he its own identity? Like is in this context, Ganondorf and Ganon finally like their own separate identities or forms of, like, is the Demon King related to Calamity Ganon? That's mainly my question, or is he finally his own thing? Like that was the main question that I have, because I remember that very clear. Like the reason why Ganon was just this ball of dark energy was because he gave up on reincarnation. Then what the hell is Ganondorf? How does he have all these powers? How is he able to like control monsters and everything? Which also leads to go ahead.
Well, Ganon was like the embodiment of darkness.
Yeah.
From some time ago. This Ganondorf is literally the Ganondorf from all that time ago. So I guess that does kind of make sense that it's not like this Ganondorf was born 2 years ago or 20 years ago, and this is the guy from thousands of years ago. So that kind of makes sense, right? It does kind of separate him. It's just, it's kind of like the sort of like the "Why did you say that name?"
Yeah.
Like, oh, we've defeated the evil darkness of shadows, Ganon. Oh, evil calamity Ganon. Oh no, there's another problem. What's his name? You're not gonna believe this.
Yeah.
But like, it is kind of what it feels like. It's like, well, wait. So was Ganon named after Ganondorf, or is this all just a big coincidence?
Which at that point, I will just say that Gerudo were asking for it. We're asking.
Yeah.
But even on that.
One male every 100 years. We gotta stop naming this guy Ganon.
Yeah, like we need to stop naming him after the biggest threat in our kingdom's history, but because he otherwise he's gonna start killing people, and then he's just gonna stab them behind their backs, and he's just gonna start having this weird laugh every time he does this. That laugh, dude, that's more hilarious.
It's more like
And terrifying.
You didn't like his meme face?
For what?
But it was a meme face.
Yeah,
He was like doing poggers.
No, I told Solar this joke. Like I imagine him like punches Sonya, and then tells Zelda like, "Why don't you try to revert that, huh?" Why don't you try? Like, why don't you? It's just him laughing to himself the entire time until he grabs the thing. But also, and that also leads me to another question that I had. Like, they say that the stones in and of themselves are technically nothing. Like they're based on nothing. They're just amplifiers
They're just power.
Like they're amplifiers of power you technically already have.
Yeah.
Like Tooling has the power of wind, therefore like Sage of Wind, like the lightning, water, flames, and Zelda has the power of time. At least that's the one that dominates in this game. Rauru is light, and Sonya is time as well. What is Ganondorf? What is Ganondorf? Like I don't think they ever say what's his power. I don't think they.
Just darkness in the shadow. I that's what I took it as. I always took it as he was just the embodiment of dark. I mean, the one thing I don't understand, and you guys might know, have we abandoned the Triforce story?
I was about to say, like,
are we out of that? Like, are we out of Ganon is the representation of power, Link is courage, and Zelda is wisdom?
Not quite, but at least not in the physical sense of the Triforce. Definitely, because even in this game, like Rauru tells like that pride or and desire of power is gonna be the thing that defeats you. Zelda is always the one that's methodical and thinks of everything. Like she builds a millennium-year-old plan, but
that whole thing was based on the fact that she was the embodiment of the Triforce of Wisdom.
Yeah,
she had that, and she had like the light on her hand, and Link was the embodiment of the So like they still represent those things in a way, but we don't ever see their hand light up with the Triforce. There's never any indication that we even acknowledge the Triforce, other than you see the symbol on certain things in the castle.
I was about to say, you see it in Zelda's hand every once in a while. Like you see it at the end of Breath of the Wild when she kills Calamity. You see it when she's carrying the Master Sword. Like you see it every now and then, and you can but when you see the entire thing, you can but that's maybe just me coping. Like you can kind of see one of the three glowing a little bit more, but even then again, like that could be just me. And even then it's just there. It doesn't. They never said she has the power of the Triforce. No, they only said she has the power to destroy the darkness or the power of light and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I was going to like bring that up, Greg, because like that was one thing I had noticed throughout this whole entire story. It's just instead of Triforce, instead we have these tier bean things.
Like you have, you technically have everything but the Triforce in Ocarina of Time. And when it comes to the story of Ocarina of Time, you have Ganondorf, you have the sages, you have the dark energy. Like you have everything but the one thing that made that story.
Yeah. Well, you've seen the Triforce percent runs.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. Have you seen that for Ocarina of Time?
Yeah. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I actually love that one. That it was a highlight for me with games done quick. Actually, yeah. Or which one are you talking about?
No, that's what I was talking about.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
just that whole thing. Like they wedged it in there, and it still feels like it comes up from time to time. But I don't know. It I've noticed that it's less and less important.
No, and you're
And
absolutely
that's
right.
fine. And I think that that's fine because I think that the idea of it has fallen to legend doesn't work if everybody still knows about it.
Hmm.
So it's nice to have a game where that's not really the focus, and we're more focusing on the adventure, and it doesn't feel like it's going to be the same resolution again that it normally is.
No, and I do think you're absolutely right that it has a different presence. Like, but and with that, I will actually like. What do you think of Ganondorf as a character, like the way he's presented in this story?
Oh, like just his appearance and his sort of whole like the atmosphere around him.
Like
You mean like
it's just
that?
like outside of the inconsistencies that, or quote unquote inconsistencies that I bring. Like what do you think
Right.
of him?
Like this, what do I think of this version of Ganondorf?
Yeah,
Remarkable,
yeah, but,
remarkable.
uh,
As intimidating as I can put together. It's a very small thing, but I really do feel like he is part of the Gerudo. That always was kind of a oh, he was born a Gerudo. Really? It doesn't seem like it. I mean, he likes shoes,
hmm
and Gerudo don't seem to like wearing footwear.
yeah,
So like it just his whole presentation is just it never felt that way. It felt very inorganic to the world.
yeah. It
You
felt
know,
like you can make him a Hylian and it wouldn't change anything, and it wouldn't.
see, and like I don't know. He always came across like this cartoon character that blatantly stands out.
Hmm.
If you've got a crowd of people and everybody's wearing pretty much everyday clothes, and there's an old west guy in a top hat and a black cape twirling a mustache. It's like, who's the bad guy? I'm probably gonna go with that guy. He
Yeah.
blatantly stands out, and that Ganondorf always kind of stood out. It was always kind of like, how do you not tell that this guy's the bad guy?
No, no, and which I
And
love that this game kind of actually says, like, because like when he's quote unquote to like trying to join forces with with Hyrule and talking to Rauru.
Yeah.
Even Zelda's like, you guys saw that, right? You guys feel that this guy is bad news. That this guy,
Yeah.
and,
and but it looked not just that he looked like a bad guy. He looked like a character who belonged in this world that if you didn't mess with him, you probably wouldn't second guess him. Like, you probably wouldn't mess with him just based on how he looks.
yeah,
But he looked like he fit. When you see him and then you see a Goron and you see Rauru and the sexy sister, you see these outlandish characters and it looks like, oh, he fits. He's as outlandish in his design as the rest of them.
yeah.
So it worked. I'm looking at footage of him right now, and I just I'm enthralled.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
learning
like
things.
and definitely it's mostly the way he is actually like because yeah, like for instance in Ocarina of Time and there and by connection like Twilight Princess, his outfit and way he looks like, yeah, like he does not look like he comes from the Gerudo tribe,
Yeah.
like the meanwhile here at the very least he still has that at the very least a very Arabian or deserted kind of outfit. Like he does.
Yeah, he looked like he was the leader of those people,
Hmm.
and it made perfect sense.
Yeah, like you look at that guy and say like, oh, where does he rule? Like, I don't know, like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, or something.
Yeah.
Or so,
Yeah, this guy's not the head of Rito Village.
and the reason why I bring up the whole connection with Calamity Ganon is like first of all, like when he gets the power of the Secret Stone, he full on becomes the mice. Like he full on becomes the mice. Like even the bits of the outfit have the scales from the imprisoned form. And just the way the hair looks looks like fire,
Yeah.
and the eyes, and that's just
When
the
I,
Maisdorf. The what now?
When I saw that hair, I was thinking just two things, like, oh, that just reminds me of Demise, but also the second thing I thought of, like, wow, they're really trying to one up that Hyrule Warriors hair.
Yeah, yeah. Like which kind of like it's funny how the direct series is connecting like even using Hyrule Warriors. Like I'm surprised that they did not even try to do anything with Age of Calamity for this game, like in any form. And I'm not saying that it should have. It's just something that always caught my attention even back then. But and even as a character in terms of like personality, like you can feel the presence that he not only creates, but the one despite the laugh, like the one that he tries to always like portray. Like you can feel that this man is the embodiment of desire, of wishing power and to rule over everything. And so like and even when he's in his zombie form, which is the one that you get to see the most, like he is always in that sense of control. Like you know very well that if you make a wrong move in front of this guy, no matter the stance that he has, like he has all the power and confidence that he will destroy the living hell out of you. And it also feels like because that's the one thing that I will say that even previous Ganondorfs will fail to do, like with the exception being the one in Hyrule Warriors to a degree. Ganondorf in this game, like I said, he does not fuck around. He is completely determined on getting on killing everybody. On killing.
This is an actual dangerous character.
Mm-hmm. Like you see even in his when he presents himself towards the sages and like the way he talks, like again, like the thing that he said, like, my allies, let's just destroy everything, leave no survivors, leave no, and that also kind of brings an interesting thing that I feel could have been explored more with him, which is you can feel a certain level of conviction with him. I'm not saying that in a positive light. I'm just saying that it kind of brings me some vibes of how Thanos will communicate with himself, like because when you meet him, like he's like he talks about light like it was an actual bad thing. Like he genuinely believes that what he's doing is like that him ruling is actually good. Like at least that's enough that we get in terms of exposition with the character.
I don't know. I feel like. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that was one thing with Ganondorf that I always was always interested about it being explored, because it was sort of, because it's one thing that I've seen a lot of fans sort of have like ideas about, but ideas or / headcans about where like with Ganondorf coming from the Gerudo and having his his royalty appointed upon him, and the people often would wonder, like, well, could he be possibly seen in like a tragic light where he's being either control he's being influenced by the curse of Demise, or also the fact where maybe he feels like Hyrule is taking so much power and none of it is being given to the Gerudo and none of it is being given to his people. But that's where I sort of felt like it was possibly going here, for the fact that he was actually being seen in the flashbacks with the Gerudo, like he was commanding them. Like that was, I've never seen that in any other games. But then when he gets the when he gets the tier MacGuffin thing, the Gerudo are nowhere to be seen. He's just like, no, fuck that. Here's all the demons.
Like
that's why the whole thing about like, is he misunderstood, or is he did he have a point, right? The whole that's like the Thanos thing, like Thanos had a point. No, I don't think that there was any ever sort of redemption for him. There's no it's us and the Gerudo versus Hyrule, like, no, but there was never any indication that the crown was ever corrupt. That the Gerudo were being mistreated. Like it was always because he was a jerk that wanted power. Like, I don't think that anything was ever actually demonstrated to make you think otherwise.
Oh yeah,
I
no.
think people
Yeah.
I think people like to look and imagine these scenarios, but realistically, I don't think there's any evidence that he was ever in the right or that he ever had anybody's best interest in mind other than I want to rule.
Yeah, no. Like,
Oh yeah, and you know, I just definitely want to say like, you know, I don't think that like the guy's an irredeemable bastard.
Yeah,
Like,
there's no redemption. That's sort of the point with him.
yeah, yeah, and that's what I've always like. You know, it's like even you know, even though like sometimes you know people, I would say that you know there's beauty in that simplicity for the fact that you know he's a guy that wants power,
Yeah.
and I can definitely understand how like some people in the fandom were just like, well, you know, like what if like this incarnation of Ganondorf had a bit more like of a motive to himself, but it's like I mean I can do either or without, and with the fact that you know like, since in this incarnation of Ganondorf he didn't really have that motivation. I'd say the only thing that I think was expanded with him was the fact that well you know he was actually you know, commanding the Gerudo, because in the previous games he was just not really around them, and yet you were told he was
Yeah.
the king of them.
yeah,
So-
this-
Yeah,
I
you
think
find
this is
out
the-
later, like, oh, he was with us, and we got rid of him, and
Yeah.
then like I recently played Ocarina, and in Ocarina, when you're in the Gerudo town, there are people that talk about him like he was great.
Yeah,
It's not even like he did this horrible thing and all the Gerudo hate him. There are still Gerudo there that are like, oh yeah, we respected him and he was powerful and we loved him for. This is like, wait a minute, hold on. Are you the bad guys, or like, do you understand what's happening outside the Gerudo town?
yeah, no.
Yeah,
like,
and I think it's where a lot of the fan like speculation or like headcanons come in, where it's just like, oh, is there something deeper going on here? But yeah,
Yeah, I don't. If there is, it ain't this game. Not
Yeah,
my
no.
yeah,
opinion.
and
Like, the reason why I bring it up, at least like when it comes to this game, is it's mostly like the posture that he tends to have, is what I said, like just the way he talks and describes certain things. Like it reminds me, just for the sake of a recent reference, Bellows in the Owl House. Clearly, he's the bad guy, no questions asked. But when he talks and communicates and expresses those things, like you see a guy that, again, like, even though he's objectively wrong, you can see a guy that has a certain personal conviction within himself. Like that's what I mean. Like Ganondorf is so convinced that he is the ruler of this land, that the one that that because he's a king by birth in the Gerudo, he should deserve to have the entire kingdom for himself. And then he tries to manipulate and control everything, and thinks that because he has the power, he is the one that deserves it. Like even when you finally confront him, like the way he talks, like, I will reshape this, and I will be the one to control it. That's what a king must do. It talks with so much property. To that's what I mean. Like even with Thanos, with like he knows he's a fucking psychopath, but for some reason he truly believes his own goal.
But that's the thing. Thanos legitimately
Had a point, yeah.
was trying to help, and we know that. People can speculate that wasn't the case,
No,
but
it
we
was.
know that because when everything was said and done, he left
Yeah,
and he retired to his little farm with his busted arm, and he stayed there. And he
Yeah.
had no interest in doing anything else. He even used the stones to destroy the stones. Like that's very clearly what it was that he wanted to do, and when he did it, he was actually done. I don't think Ganondorf, like, he has this conviction of I'm gonna rule, but I don't think it comes from anywhere positive. He's just
Yeah.
a villain.
yeah, no,
Like there's no
Like, he
there's,
said-
there's no like, and that's why I have trouble calling it conviction, because conviction to me just makes it sound like he's dedicated to some
to a
larger
positive
goal,
cause, yeah.
and it's not a larger goal. He wants to be in control. Like
Yeah, like-
it is arguably the smallest goal a character like this can have. It's petty almost for them to say I just want to be in charge.
Yeah, no, like I completely agree. It's just I feel that it's mostly because of how he always communicates. Like even after he quote unquote gets his goal of becoming the Demon King, like he keeps that, again, like I said, like that posture of of control and rule, and like instead of just being what he in reality is just like a more serious Bowser.
Yeah.
like but no, like in this game, like I feel like there was an attempt to like create some of those things within the story, like, but it just wasn't explored because they need to keep doing it through flashbacks instead of actually giving you a story.
Yeah, like they could have. They could, if they wanted to go into the kingdom is screwing over the Gerudo, or I've got some better motive, and then I just get sort of corrupted along the way. Like they, the building blocks were there to have done that, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, no, like, and I don't need like I don't necessarily need the whole the kingdom was or the Raru's kingdom was flawed, or there was something that like, no, I completely buy Ganondorf just being a dick with an ego complex. Like, it's just
that's all it was.
I feel that the way the character presents himself feels like there was something more, or maybe that's the point. Like he's just a dick, but talking like he has a major goal, and like it's just somebody believing his own lie.
Yeah.
Like, but
like the way like sorry
no, you go.
Like the way that I kind of like really liked Ganondorf's character in this game is that it's he, I think he stands out on the pure fact that throughout all of the other games, we've not been really able to have this much time sort of with him in a story sense, because there are flashbacks that are from his perspective that you see where he's where he's commanding the Gerudo, where he's having them command those beasts down in the canyon, and also there's a bunch of flashbacks and cutscenes of how his plan is unfolding, and also the fact that he's voiced, of which Matt Mercer does a really good job.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, with games like Ocarina, you only ever see Ganondorf
being a
very
dick.
shortly, and you just either being a dick or capitalizing on yourself passing out, and then you fight him as the final boss, and then that's just it. And then Twilight Princess, you're just like, oh, he's
just there
to be executed off screen, and then you don't hear anything much about him at all until the final boss, and then Skyward Sword, it's demise, so it's sort of different. But here, Ganondorf is definitely more of a constant presence. He feels like a constant presence instead of like suddenly going in and going out of the plot.
I mean, he's technically the one, he's technically the one constantly doing things, because like we didn't touch too much into it. Like every single boss fight or every single area, like he is the one in control. Like he's the one doing something, like to create these things. Like for instance, like the fucking hands, man. The fucking I was walking around like minding my own business one time, and then I just suddenly like see a pile of goo. I just see hands, and then I scream. And then I screamed, and then go ahead.
Those have got to be the most creepiest Zelda enemies I've ever seen. I was just like, oh, they're like wall masters, except in the floor, and also terrifying.
Yeah. And then God forbid you kill one, and then you get a whole nother surprise.
And you have to do it because like you need to kill them in order to like save the Deku Tree, which is a part of the completion aspect. But I will say that the setup is actually healthier than when you're actually exploring by yourself. Like, but oh man, like the first time I did it, like I was in the Deku Tree. I finally beat them. I had enough bombs and arrows. Like I figured that I needed to like kill them like as fast as I could. And then that motherfucker appears, and then like I just kill him, and then a Phantom Ganon shows up, and I like.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
When I saw that Phantom Ganon was the thing in this, I was like, oh, we're gonna play tennis? Damn it, no.
No, it ain't that game anymore.
No, it's like boom. Although I did enjoy finishing him off, like because the way it ended. We were fighting in the Deku Tree, and we clash attacks, but he's the one that ran out of health first. He's the one.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then with the one that I could not beat, but I did try, but I just ran out of arrows, was the freaking Gleeok. So it was the.
Like, oh yeah.
Like. Go
Funny
ahead.
thing about them, the first one that I killed was the king.
Oh, okay.
I killed the king Gliok before I was afraid to fight them the entire time, and then when I fought, I forget where I was, and there was a king. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'm probably gonna die. I don't know the mechanics of the fight for a triple, let alone for one of the other ones. And it was relatively simple. I was able to sort of, hide and I figured it out as I went. And I think I died maybe once or twice, and then I was able to do it. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I fought the individual ones. I'm like, this is way easier.
Oh yeah. Like I managed to get into I figured out the way to properly beat the Glias. Again, you mostly need the homing attacks to properly do it, and you had to do them fast. Otherwise, my God. But I ran out of arrows. So I'm just like, god damn it. I was so close and I just decided to leave. But I say the Gleox and maybe the constructs like the cubic beast, those can be like the hardest bosses in the actual game. The actual bosses, go ahead.
Not the construct ones. I think the construct ones were actually pretty easy. Especially when I realized, which I did not know that I could do until very late in the game. Did you know that you can grab the block that is vulnerable and pull it out of the monster?
Yeah, if you pull the end cubes on every limb, you basically cut their legs and hands, and they can't hurt you.
Well, yeah, you can pull all of those, but if you grab the block that's actually vulnerable and just yank it, the whole thing falls apart.
Oh no, yeah.
That's funny.
I found that one out 200 hours in.
I thought that was the actual gimmick. Well, it took me a while, but in my first fight, that's the one thing. The thing that I thought was a secret was the fact that you can take off the hands. I as far as I'm concerned, that's the only way to to actually beat him. You pull out the block. You pull.
Oh yeah. See, I would get around and I would try and get a view of the thing. And then I would shoot it with a bomb arrow or something, and then that would separate it.
Oh,
or
okay.
if you hit it with rejuice power, that separates it immediately.
Oh,
so yeah, a lot of it was me trying to do that. I didn't know that you could just rip it apart, literally.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know any other method, to be honest. And I tried, and in the footage, you can see, I'm trying to actually hurt him. I thinking it's with the Talos or the giant stones. And, and no, that wasn't hitting the cut. Other than that, and obviously the Lynels are also always the stars of actual combat.
The funny thing is the Lynels. I mean, they were still dangerous, but I didn't really have. I wasn't as afraid of them because there were so many other things.
Yeah. Because
the Gleox existed, because the constructs existed, I wasn't really as concerned with running into a Lynel as I was not so much concerned, but I was just more curious. There's so many other things that I can search for, and that's so interesting. And especially when you beat the bosses, and then the bosses start showing up underground, and you can refight them, and just all of that was it was so fascinating to see all of these bosses and these complex encounters and how you could handle them.
Yeah, and that's about where I was actually going to go. The bosses, I like them. I'm gonna say that I like them. The actual bosses, from the front of every temple, they're gimmicky. They're gimmicks.
I liked all of them except one. Yeah.
Which one?
I didn't like the water one.
Yeah, I know. That one was just an annoyance more than anything.
God, and then when you're redoing it underground, and it's the same thing, it doesn't really matter how powerful you are. It's just the same obnoxious mechanics. That was kind of all right. This needs to stop.
Because I was wondering, because a bit of a spoiler that I obviously did not do and I will never do. Unlike in Breath of the Wild, you can once again go to Ganondorf at the very end, on your own, from the very beginning. You're not gonna get very far, so I will dare to say. But I was wondering, because they're most likely gonna do the same thing as they did in Breath of the Wild, where if you don't fight them in the temples, you're gonna fight them here. I can see how, because the boss fights are mostly like, with the exception of Mok'Torog, which I still think is the one that can actually hit you. All of them are very easy. Like, they're just gimmicks of like, oh, the weakness are right in your face, and you just have to do it, and you just.
Yeah, the one, the Goma,
The spider.
I found, yeah, I find that to be interesting because the Colgera, the big giant worm thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really need Tulin's power to help you with that.
Yeah. No,
The Gibdo or the Gibdo Queen, you don't need what's her face's help because you can just use the yellow choo-choos or the shock fruit with your bow and arrow. So you don't need it, but it definitely helps. The Goma, I feel like without what's his face, I feel like would actually be a little tricky.
yeah,
You know, I don't know how effective the bomb arrows are on the legs, and so I'd be interested to see what that looks like without Yunobo's help.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, that's the one that I can see being a bit on the difficulty side. Like for that. But
And I don't even know how the water one's possible without Sidon's power.
Again, it's part of what I've been because you're the one that told me that like apparently you like again like it's not even if you try to do the speedrun strat, you do need a couple of gymnastic levels of like, okay, I need to know where all of this is in the entire kingdom before I even attempt to go there, like because you will need at least some water stuff and a lot of weapons in order to like properly like get the hang of them. At the very least, like with Mok'Torog, because without that, you're not gonna hit him. You cannot hit Mok'Torog unless you water them down first.
Yeah.
But like, but again, like the ones that work, my God, they work, and even Colgera, at the very least, even if I think they're gimmicks, my God, they're a spectacle to behold.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Like that fight.
And I gotta say, they're much better than the Divine Beasts and the Ganon Blights.
Yeah,
or whatever the heck they're called. Yeah.
Yeah,
the
for
Blight
the most part,
Ganons.
yeah. Like I will definitely take a Gliak or Colgera or anything over a Fire Blight or anything. I say the only Blight that was a little better than most fights here is Thunder Blight, but again, the gimmick in and of itself is very specific.
Yeah.
But one of the both the difficulty of the monsters and the way everything is kind of set up, I find a certain irony with this game. The one game where you feel the most weight and connection with Link, like again the whole purpose of why he is called Link and all, is the one game where you're not actually your character.
What do you mean?
Again, like from the very first game all the way to Skyward Sword, what was the one thing they had in common? Link was you. Like you can call him Greg, you can call him Board, you can call him whatever you want, because it's supposed to be you. I never felt that in any game until this one, where I was actually interested or felt connected to the character in and of itself. Like maybe in Wind Waker, but that's because again Wind Waker, like that art style, like again that better said, that Link was very expressive and was its own thing. And was it?
Yeah.
But even then, I was caring about Link. I never felt like I was him in this quote unquote role play in Zelda. Here, it might be again that the fact that Breath of the Wild kind of hints into that. Or playing Breath of the Wild helps you to feel that weight, but the way the characters always talk about you and how they rely on you eventually feels very powerful, especially with Zelda.
Yeah.
You there?
Like because and even then, like if I have to go into her. Well, like many people have said it in certain comments when you look at the story and all. This is also one of the first times in a long time where this feels like the Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. Technically, with the time travel, you know,
she played such a yeah, she played such an interesting role all on her own. There was this, there was a Legend of Zelda happening in this.
Like, which technically was the case in Breath of the Wild, but again, like I feel the way it's presented in this game is way powerful because not all because in Breath of the Wild the main thing is that you see the whole thing transpire and how she was basically how her conflict was being basically useless until the very end. Here, she's entirely active from the beginning of the story to the very end. She fights, like she fights Ganondorf. Like technically, she fights Ganondorf alongside Rauru and the rest of the sages. Like, but they don't.
Yeah.
And when everything is done, for reasons that are never properly explained, fucking somehow the Stone of Time, Link's Stone of Time, and Zelda's Stone of Time connect to bring the Master Sword to the past. And it might be a me thing, but I feel like the little way the Master Sword travels felt a little similar to the one in Ocarina, but that might be just me doing fan service. That might just be.
Well, maybe that's how it works. Is that the sword? Think of it like a Harry Potter wand or Mjolnir, where it has enough of a consciousness is probably a strong word, but it has enough of an instinct in a way to send itself where it needs to be.
I think conscious is the right word, considering at least for these two games, because the way it works is that at the very least the Sword and Zelda communicate, like quote unquote.
Yeah, so I mean that'd be an interesting piece of lore as to what the link of the Master Sword is to these, well, what used to be these elements of the Triforce, these living embodiments of the Triforce. But it would make sense that the Master Sword has some connection to them, and that's why when it got sent back, it knew it appeared. It didn't appear somewhere random and Zelda found it. It appeared to Zelda, so it knew exactly where to go.
Although this game also makes me question the origin of the Master Sword, because again, like, assuming that because this is Hyrule, like that we're already in Hyrule, that this takes place right after Skyward Sword in its own world, then where the fuck is the Master Sword? Then where the fuck?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say what I was what I was gonna add on to your guys' point was how the Master Sword goes to her in the past, and I always and there's that flashback where she's I guess it's her final thoughts before she becomes a dragon. She was saying the Master Sword, your sword, and she kind of refers to the Master Sword as if it was its own entity, she calls it her, or and that sort of made me think I feel like this is just headcanon territory, but isn't in Skyward Sword, I forgot her name, Fi? Yeah, Fi. Or whatever. Yeah. Isn't she the Master Sword?
Yeah, she is. It's just that's what I mean. Assuming that this is still its own connection world and all. Okay, then where the fuck is Fi? Then where the fuck is?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, granted, at the end of Skyward Sword, didn't she just kind of essentially just go? She just become.
She becomes a sword, and that's it. Yeah.
I mean, maybe the sword dies and is reborn into the legend the same way. Maybe the power is tied directly to these representations of the Triforce. So when they die, the Sword of Legend becomes something different. And that's what someone buries the sword after the events of a game, and then they go back 50, 100 years later, and it's gone.
Okay, yeah.
And then 500 years later, when new embodiments of the Triforce are born, the Master Sword reappears in a different way, and Legend takes over and does its own thing, and it's going to become whatever. But then you've got at one point it was. The Picori supposedly created a blade, and then that had to be blessed with certain powers before it became the Master Sword. I think Wind Waker had something like that, where your sword had to sort of become because that's another thing is that sometimes you find the Master Sword and sometimes something becomes the Master Sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Is that the power of the Master Sword it's just power represented within a sword.
And other times it's not even a Master Sword; it's a Force Sword. It's a
yeah.
It become four people.
Yeah, it's some unique thing, which is just that in general could be an interesting way to. I feel like that's a different discussion, but talking about like different ways to do a Zelda game if you wanted to change up the world somehow. You could just have that power instead of being the Master Sword become something different. The Master Gauntlet or the Master Shield. I think that would be an interesting game where the shield is the master weapon.
Oh, that reminds me again. I might need to mention it later. Like what, I got it like way post game. Like I got it like when I was getting into Hyrule Castle, and then I fought Ganondorf. One hit. The Hyrule Shield broke. I was shit! Oh no!
That's why I keep it on a display case in my house.
Like I was
in Tears of the Kingdom, my house that I built has a display case with a Hylian shield on it.
Yeah, and a hero photo like a human being should, like a human. But like I was so terrified on that part. But like going back to this, just because you mentioned that, I remember. The way everybody talks about Link, even both in the past and in the present, when they see you, like everybody's just happy to see you, or they talked about you in such a great light.
Yeah.
And hell, like it didn't hit me until I was obviously getting into like after saving Minoru, where you get the flashback of how they fought.
Yeah.
Like and you're seeing like how the way things were. Like Rauru somehow uses his hand to seal the magic of Ganondorf, and
which
even
was
though he
very
knows
cool,
it's gonna work, he just says, "Someone with the power to defeat you, Link. Remember this name." And like that's when it hit. That like when I just felt that weight. And
it was nice that they trusted. They all they had was the word of Zelda that Link was going to come along and be the one to stop him, and they went with it. They had to leave it. They had to say like, this is where we need to put our faith.
Yep, like again, our final last of defense is gonna be Link. Oh, Link is the one that can help us. Like and but hell, like I still think that the one that keeps the cake and it only solidify what I'm saying is Zelda herself. Like at the very end of the tears, like when you see her like saying like being willing to sacrifice, like put everything on Link, including her own life by eating the stone, which we are told very early on in the memories. That's how dragons are made, apparently. So.
Once they said that, I was like, "Oh, she's gonna swallow it."
Yeah, no,
I was. Yeah, that was one question I was curious about. When did you guys just know that? Like, oh, okay, that dragon's her. Like before.
When
I didn't realize it was her until they told me, because when I sort of clicked in my brain like, oh, she's gonna become a dragon or something, right? She's gonna swallow the thing. I just didn't know where the dragon was. We had the dragons in Breath of the Wild, so at that point I hadn't been able to get up to the dragons, so I just assumed it was them again. And it wasn't until later where I was like, oh wait, one of these is her. Like when it happened, I was like, oh. So then I started flying around, and that's when I found. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's freaking awesome." Yeah. I just assumed it was one of the other three.
Like in my case, the moment I realized was, unfortunately, during the memories, like because I was mostly curious, like why is this like, because they say it's the Tears of the Light Dragon. Why are these so? Oh shit. Like the moment it kind of clicked, like I feel that that's more of that's a bigger spoiler than the name itself, because apparently that was a thing for why they were keeping the name so vague during development or before launch. Like, is that, oh, the name is a spoiler. you don't get the
Well-
spoil if they go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Like you don't get the spoiler on the name. Like it's more like if anything, when that quest in and of itself becomes a spoiler the moment you start it. Like you get that implication very quickly, or at the very least, it felt like that on my end. It felt.
Yeah. I mean, the Tears of the Kingdom name is actually, it relates to the memories, the little memory pools, because they actually call them that. But then it also relates to the stones that the sages where the sages get their power amplified from. Is like those could be the Tears of the Kingdom, and if you want to be a smartass about it, which I like being a smartass about things, you could say that word said tears of the kingdom,
Oh, okay.
and it was all about the chasms that opened up all over, because they were the tears of the kingdom. Oh, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
like, and because again, it's a small story on my end, but like it's one that actually happened. Like I said, like I was traveling all by myself and doing whatever, and I saw, again, as I was traveling, I knew that in order to get the Master Sword, you need a certain amount of hearts, of stamina. And you need to,
Originally it was hearts in the first game.
yeah, it was in the first game. Like, but here, like, you need to like get a certain amount of this, and then get to the light dragon. I'm like, okay, if you don't do the Deku tree, so like beforehand, or get the tears, or I think it's both. This motherfucker is all the way up there, like it's at the highest point. Makes sense because in context of the story, that makes sense why the dragon is so high, because it's supposed to still instinctively, like by instinct, still be protecting the sword for Link. I stood, but again, it's this when I realized that this thing is in real time. I stood there for like 2 hours. Like Zelda's cycle is 2 hours. I know that much. Just waiting. I even got to the water temple by accident because of that. Because like I was just trying to get to the highest place. And I just kept going and going until I finally found her. And then I'm trying to like I'm just waiting because I don't want to fuck it up. Once I actually get there, and I like you get the whole sequence, like I just like having to hold on to it until like for at least 2 full wheels of stamina bars. And then I just like I did all of this before the tears as well. Then I just see the freaking Zelda carrying the sword. You're like, oh, this is Zelda. Okay, I thought this is like, so I got spoiled on the last thing that I was supposed to do in the game.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's funny because that's just gonna leave you really confused.
Yeah, no.
Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, no, it still helped me. Just like, okay, why is she the dragon? What the hell happened? What am I missing? What am I like? What?
There's a clip of a guy, a couple like the second day after the game came out, and he gets up to the He got up to Zelda, and he's like shooting stuff at her eye. He's just messing with her. It's like, stupid dragon. And then it was a YouTube short that I saw. Like, it's all of him doing that. And then it cuts to him a couple days later, and he's up there. He's like, I'm sorry. I didn't know back then.
Oh my, that's amazing.
Because it's technically the last thing you're supposed to actually be doing in the game. I think even before getting like Minoru and all. But once you do that, you get told by Piora like, hey, like maybe Ganondorf, if he's not in the castle because we already went there, he might be then in the depths. Ask Yosha to like the little girl that's investigating the depths, like to see if she can help you. She's fucking useless. She's like if she doesn't tell you jack shit, as far as I'm concerned.
You find out everything on your own.
Yeah, but then you just think, okay. I found Ganondorf at the very bottom of the castle. He has to still be there. And first of all, like I found very cute that the ruins in which you find him are still technically intact. so you can actually see what the rest of the prophecy is, which only makes things even more confusing. It's only that you get told by the end in the ruins that if you break the
Oh yeah. If you smash all the extra walls and stuff.
like you see the whole draconification and that they found the master sword and everything, but which again is still very cute, but felt a little off. I made a stupid mistake here because I did this right after Hyrule Castle, no, after Minoru, and I had like most of my weapons were Ganondorf's weapons, like because I fought all the Phantom
Oh yeah, like the demon bow and stuff like that.
Like the bows are fine.
Well, the bows lose, I think, a little more than half their power when you fight Ganondorf and all of the stuff down here.
No, the bows are related to like to your health. Like if you have high health, you get an attack boost.
Okay.
But if you use the sword or any of the melee weapons, you're losing hearts as you're going. You're losing.
Oh yeah. You can't use them now. You can use them if you fuse them to something else, but they'll break really fast. But you get a couple of good, really strong hits.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, throughout most of the game, they're fine. But
yeah, no, but
you can use them, especially if you're on the surface.
But if you're like me, who decide I'm gonna use the fucking gloom weapons in Ganon's lair, I'm gonna use. I was like, oh. I'm already halfway my heart, and I haven't even got to Ganondorf, and I haven't even like.
Yeah, you got it. You're kind of handicapping yourself there.
Yeah, the setting in and of itself is definitely way more elaborate than Hyrule Castle in Breath of the Wild because all the access to him is through a little tunnel that you have to walk your path through it, and it's basically a gauntlet. Like you find a bunch of likes. Or like-alikes, I don't know what they're
likes. Yeah.
Okay, and then just everything is gloom. Like every single hit is gonna mean that by the time you get to Ganondorf, you're gonna have way less health. And
that's why you got a skateboard shield to get through it all.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, in my case, I was just like running. And
you do have, assuming you played the game normally, you do have the mech by that point.
You have the mech to walk through the gloom. And then you have the tooling to help you boost through the area until you get to a certain point where for some reason the sages are no longer there.
It says something. I remember that was being very weird. It's like, oh, the sage's power can't reach here, but don't worry, in the next room you'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a little strange.
Like the power of the sage can reach, why? And you're like, okay, there's so much being useful as always. I see, and then I'm putting a shield in my a rocket in my shield, and just the next room after they tell you that a fucking Gloomhan is right there, it's just as well as a Lionel, and you're like, why does this place hate me? Oh yeah, that's why. That's who.
Oh yeah, final area. My first time coming here, I kind of knew what it was. But I was exploring, and I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here.
Oh, yeah, therefore...
stuff just kept coming out, and I'm like, I'm really not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So I set up a teleport thing, and then I left.
Yeah, no, I know. I should have also done that, because now... Go ahead.
I was going to say, now, actually, I set up a teleport thing, and then I figured I was going to lose to Ganondorf, so I went to fight... And I got to, his last form. It turned out to be, I think, his last form. When his health bar goes all the way crazy.
Yeah,
I got to that form, and I was like, I'm not even going to try and win, because I haven't found the last guy yet. But then, oh no, you know what? I died, and then I tried it again, and then I ended up winning. I beat the game without, tooling.
Oh, okay.
So I had to fight Colgera
here.
This was the place that I had to fight it, and I was like, "Oh, this must be the Rito Village boss," which was very easy, by the way. I found that to be the easiest boss.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're all gimmicks, but even that one is full on spectacle over everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching this playthrough here, and I saw earlier you did it where you shot Colgera in the weak spots with just plain arrows.
Yep.
I didn't know you could do it with just plain arrows. I use bomb arrows every time.
Oh, okay. I realized because before you get into the temple, there's a couple blocks of ice similar to Colgera's ice that you just have to break with arrows. You just
Oh, okay.
but then you get into the actual final area, like the final gauntlet. Then you can tell the Koei Tecmo had something to do here. The or Team Ninja, because you get a Hyrule Warriors fight basically. You can,
Oh, the big raid style fight where it's all the enemies.
yeah, the rates of enemies.
That is
like
very
that.
cool.
And I thought it was like, if anything, I kind of wish that we had more of those things because even by despite this game having a very basic combat, like it still felt good for fighting a rate of enemies. Like it still felt nice, especially if you had a full on a claymore or something of that sort. And
Oh yeah, they do a good job of making you feel like you can handle it.
but I think it was here. Like, yeah, my ass just felt like, okay, I'm just gonna do this, grab a gloom sword and start blasting through, and I'm like, oh, I'm already for just 4 hearts. I'm already just
Yeah, now you're already dying, and it wasn't even their fault.
like like I made that fight. Just made that entire fight harder for me. Like and like, but when you because when you get to Ganondorf, like which is like right after like this gauntlet of enemies, like not just this one, like just has several of those. Um, like first off, he cheats. Like he's not supposed to do parry. That's a you thing. That's a you. Like, but also, the one of his main techniques that terrified me was that he can actually break your hearts. He could.
Yeah, he just breaks them away from you completely. It's like, okay, wait a minute now. It reminds me of old Ninja Turtles arcade where you get blasted by the shredder and your whole quarter was gone.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah, he had some where he would. I don't think it was your whole quarter. I think you just only had like 2 lives per quarter, but he would blast you and you would just be dead. He would turn you into a tiny little turtle, and then all I know is every time I got hit with it, I needed to pay another quarter in order to keep playing.
And in my mind, I'm like, you have any idea the amount of shrines that I don't even know which shrines I need to redo to get that heart back? You jerk! Like, but once again, like the setting in and of itself, like is really cool. Like because I didn't doubt myself on that part, but I imagine people were actually expecting that you were gonna fight the zombie. like
I mean I didn't really think about it one way or another. I kind of figured that he would be rehydrated by the time we fought. So it was interesting to see it happen right in front of me, and then he was all big and beefy, and then he would step down or like he hops down and then he starts walking and he's got these real super, and that's sort of what I was talking about with like just the atmosphere and the presence of the character. When he walks, he's got these very heavy footsteps, and but they did like it doesn't sound like boots. It sounds like actual bare feet on a surface, but just really like everything they did about him with the sound engineering for him was just remarkable. I mean, just for the game in general, but it was just so good when he would walk and you hear that sort of soft plap of his foot down onto the ground. It's like, oh my god, this guy's incredible.
no, and once again, like the presence that I'm talking about, like the way he said, like you're witnessing a king's revival and the birth of his new world. Like I just love that. Because of my own stupidity, I pack myself with a lot of extra heart meals, like the ones that give you more heart than you should. Which for him they don't work anything other than like a free hit, which was the first thing that happened if I fight it. Like if you saw it, like oh, I ran into it, one hit, boom.
Yeah, no, I just look at the footage. You just basically bitch slapped like 7 hearts out of you.
Yeah.
And
I went in with like a lot of fairies and stuff, and then when I knew to do it right, I went in with the food that fixes the gloom. Yeah.
I hated my file got corrupted because I wish I could show you. He technically won, like because I only have 4 actual hearts. Like after I ran out of food, every hit was losing a heart. I died. I had 1 fairy. And I managed to beat him after that, but the fog got corrupted right after he became the Demon King, like kind of meta, but but still kind of like. And then the actual ending of the fight is where everything leads up to it makes sense. Yet I was still not expecting him after the Demon King fight, after the Demon.
Oh yeah, I mean, they do sort of telegraph it. You do realize like, oh yeah, this is probably what's going to happen here. But it was just so impressive to see it when it does too.
Like you're at least told that it's something that he can do.
I mean, hold on, because it's in the you're showing the footage right now. Did anybody else freak out when the health bar just kept going up?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just okay.
Wait, you couldn't just have a second one underneath? It didn't have to go off the screen like that.
Yeah. Something funny happened on that part. One time, one of the phantoms hit me. I parried the phantom, but since they are so close to him, I was basically getting free shots at him because since he's not the one hitting, the parry doesn't get programmed into the actual fight. But no, then those hits actually like those waves of energy take away your actual heart. I was genuinely terrified. Like that exactly. I managed to actually get free hits on him because the phantom is the one that hit him. But after that,
you're genuinely concerned. Like you really are. Oh my god, this is an actual dangerous fight. I can't just know the fight and steamroll over him. I do have to actually be careful.
Yeah, especially because he can parry. He can flurry rush you. I believe the whole thing is that you can parry him, and that's actually free hits. But good luck risking that. But then he becomes a dragon, and again the fact that Zelda technically gets into the fight to help you is incredible. I still think that when it comes to pure raw setting, Twilight Princess still takes the cake because they went full above and beyond on the way they set out that fight with Ganondorf. But here, you're riding a dragon. He's a dragon too. You're in the top of the sky. Everything is just hitting the right spots as well.
Yeah, it feels it. I'm not. It's not like Dragon versus Dragon. I can see it's Dragon versus Dragon, thousands of feet above the ground, and maybe there's people down there watching this unfold, and you've got this sense of urgency about what you're going to be able to do, and it was so impressive. Even if I would say the fight was a little easy.
Yeah.
It was still impressive.
It's only better than actual Calamity Ganon, which again is not that much to save. It's not like when you fight the peak form, but and the setting just feels like a better because this is technically where you get the Master Sword, even if you didn't look for it, and you just feel like, let's do this. How do I kill an immortal dragon? How do I kill? That was my first. Go ahead.
And this is where you revert back to your Zelda knowledge.
Yeah.
Everybody knows your Zelda knowledge. When it comes to bosses, the first thing you do, start running around and wait, because the boss is going to do something, and you're going to see a giant eyeball, or you're going to see a pulsating heart or something, and there's always going to be some super obvious weakness, and if you don't know what it is, literally just run around and wait.
Yeah.
And so when this started, it was like, how am I supposed to beat this guy? All right, well, hold on a second. Let me just give it a minute. And those things. Okay.
Which at that point, I also feel like, wow, they genuinely grabbed that special quest in Breath of the Wild and made it the actual boss fight. Okay, and made it like when you're saving Lanero from the corruption, and I'm like, well, that's a little lame, but again, just the overall setting feels even more epic than the one in Breath of the Wild, which was nothing but spectacle. The fucking thing doesn't do anything, but
yes, which I find here. I think there's a lot happening, but it is a spectacle, and but it's effective. It does exactly, right there. You defeat the little orb thingy and it pops you off, and I feel like I'm falling through the sky, and I feel like I need Zelda to save me, and that's so awesome. This whole fight was just done so well. It was a perfect final fight for everything else that this game had to offer, and it wasn't even the most climactic part of it. It was, after that was the best part.
Yeah, no, I still find out that they always do this thing where like, oh, you're winning, but somehow everything looks worse, or somehow, like, and then once again, like it's very easy to like nitpick about certain things with this game, like once again, like, oh, why didn't Zelda have weak spots? Why is only Ganondorf the one with weak spots and all? Like, it's very easy to like question a lot of things, but you kind of don't care. Hell, in my case, I didn't care that I have the actual skydive armor because I wanted to beat him as Ocarina of Link. I wanted to, like I just felt like I wanted to do that, like, and just the way the hit is actually like done, or you're basically hitting it at its best because the Blood Moon is also there. Like, just everything gets done to feel like you're genuinely defeated the biggest enemy this kingdom has faced at its prime, at its maximum capacity, and probably destroyed a village or two with that explosion. And and then you just see the sunrise with the mission, destroy Ganondorf, complete. Destroy.
A big pillar of nuke.
Yeah,
just like a big nuclear blast. I mean, yeah, that was kind of like, holy smokes, that's amazing. But then, even then, after that, it's just like,
okay, the way I interpret it, based on Mineru's theory and all, like, the way they do this is that since you technically have the energy of time, you're basically doing something that happened in one of the first Ganondorf flashbacks, where like Sonia and Rauru are channelizing their power onto you to use reverse on Zelda, like to bring her back. Like you're literally reversing the transformation.
Where's the stone that she swallowed?
You see it right after, like you see, like, but even at that point, I'm like, okay, how many stones are there? I thought we had the one, but whatever.
Well, she would have swallowed one. So when he changed her back, because that's what I kind of thought was happening in this scene, is that they're using their power to basically dissipate the strength of the power of the dragon, leaving Zelda and the stone. But I don't know where the stone was. I don't know if she had it on her or what.
I love it.
But she has it with her. She has it it's on her necklace.
Yeah.
At the time as she falls. And in this right here was, if you're watching the footage here, this, I was just, I'm in my house. It's like 1 a.m, and I'm just like, oh, I know he's gonna catch her, but I hope he catches her.
It's cheesy, it's corny, but you know what? Sometimes, and especially lately, like, life sucks sometimes. It's a very sad place to live in right now. When you feel like it, like, there's a lot of good things to witness in life, but just seeing them have a happy ending,
it's nice to get the happy ending. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's really great. And the fact that you get to control it, that's something that I always I have a little affinity with. Is when you let me control the character in those moments. It's not, because then it's not him rescuing Zelda, it's me.
Which goes back to what I mean. Like you like this game more than any other for me gives that sense of weight that the Link carries, because that was one of the themes in both Breath of the Wild and this game. The theme of responsibility and weight, and in this game mostly hope. Which is like, everybody's just counting on Link and putting their lives out of the way just to see this man succeeding, and you feel quoting a certain phrase on that, like, at this point I don't need Link to relate because I myself connect with all of these people, which is, again, that's the whole purpose of Link as a concept, but but this is the first time where I actually felt that. It might be because I love Breath of the Wild, and therefore I already have a connection with this world, or just the way the story was written. I can tell that the people behind Red Dead 2 wrote this story, like because there's enough tragedy, but also enough emotion in and of itself. Like even though we have a happy ending, you feel the tragedy that was behind Zelda having to become a dragon, Sonia's
Yeah.
death, Ganondorf becoming the Demon King, like Rauru's sacrifice. Like you feel all those things. The story could have easily gotten a little more substance to it, but I also feel that not really. also,
Yeah,
like-
go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say like it was something I wanted to like mention earlier when we were on like the Zelda and Link subject was like watching all the going through all the flashbacks and then seeing that final one where she turns into a dragon and just the score just the way the scene flows and everything, like that was like the first time like I've ever been like emotionally moved by a Zelda game. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people have always talked about it's like how close to their heart this series is to them, and and I've always just I've always loved Zelda, but like I've been more like casual and everything, and I like the characters to an extent and all that, and they're fun stories. But this whole like story of it all in the past and the tragedy, like the bittersweetness of Zelda having to do this all just riding on the hope of Link, and she's willing to even do this to herself, sacrifice herself in this way. I'm just
Yeah.
like, damn, that tugs on the heartstrings, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you have that. You have the stories like that, and just you got to see Zelda play an active part, and you see everybody else. This world feels very lived in. I feel like everybody has suffered through the gloom, and they are sort of trying to rebuild, and it doesn't feel like, oh, where everything that happened before is totally a-okay. Like everybody still feels like they're kind of going through it, and then you enter the Zelda and Link characters who they feel really they sad, and they've got a lot of responsibility for what's going on, and yeah, I mean, you really do you really kind of feel it with these characters.
Mm-hmm.
But the ending in and of itself is a little sweeter, just like of the whole passing of the torch that kind of the Mineru kind of tries to set up, like that were, and but who knows, maybe once again, like maybe this time, unlike previous generations, we're gonna keep seeing this Hyrule like evolve and everything, because at this point I have said it in the past, I think that Breath of the Wild has become its own beast, even like outside of the Zelda mythos. like there's everything that came before as the Zelda franchise, and then there's Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like becoming its own sub franchise to a certain extent.
Yeah, I not so much his own sub franchise, but I could see games being built off of this timeline specifically,
Age of Calamity.
as opposed to just when's the next Zelda game? Oh, when is it? We have no idea. Like where in the timeline does this go? We have no idea. I feel like there could easily be games that were built off of this formula. I'm very, very curious to see what they do as far as DLC.
Yeah. We're
Curious if
definitely
they
getting some
confirmed
of
if
that.
they're doing that.
They haven't said yes or no, I think, but I mean they did it for Breath of the Wild. They did what, 2 different versions of DLC for Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, one season pass. Yeah, one season.
I have to imagine that the people working on it are the people that should be working on the Mario Party DLC, and they're not. So
Let that go.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Sorry,
blame
I'm a
you.
little bitter.
No, it's okay. I don't blame you.
I don't blame you. I'm better with you because like 5 boards. Oh, really?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Can you add another character? Come on.
Um.
But yeah, I think that even though they haven't confirmed it, I think DLC is pretty much a lock for this.
Yeah. It's very easy to just to make DLC. Like help make more Sonite devices, make more like build more upon like help the Giga Clan. Because at least that's the thing. Like maybe on my end, like I haven't completed this game. I'm pretty sure I'm like in almost everything but Coraxes halfway there. Like all I did was fight Koga for the auto build.
Okay, yeah.
And that was it. As far as I'm concerned, there might be another boss fight, but whatever.
Yeah, there is.
Oh yeah, or there is. Okay. And
Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, speaking of Koga, I just love his boss fights with the fact that he uses the whole building mechanic against you.
Yeah.
His own contraptions.
Yeah, some of them are really cool. Some of those contraptions they were actually pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look, I do have the spike car in my favorites. I actually did have that construct. But final thoughts at this point. What are you like Solar? Because you're the one that that probably has something to like interesting to say on that part. Like final thoughts on this game.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I felt like I enjoyed it more than Breath of the Wild, honestly, which is kind of a funny thing to say because usually sometimes it's usually the sequel curse where the sequel can't match the first one, but in some cases this is one of the exceptions where I felt a lot more like engaged into the narrative, and like I said, it actually resonated with me really well, and I liked the improvements, like it and. I just felt like it was a lot of fun. Sure, there probably could, as any game's not perfect. There could be improvements in certain areas, but there's so much to do, and there's also so much to break with the fusing and all the with the building and everything. Like I'm very curious how speed runs will go, or have gone.
The last one that I watched was. I think they made it sub 50.
Holy shit!
Yeah, so I think they are below sub 50. The amount of pre-planning that is on display in a speedrun of this game at this point is remarkable.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of what it is. It doesn't really. I mean, there is some cheesing and stuff, but for the most part, a lot of these are speedruns like this are usually, we're going to glitch through here, we're going to glitch through that. A lot of this is just, all right, we're going to very cleverly, optimally, it's a lot of optimal movement. And like when you finally get the power to leave to the Sky Temple or whatever, you're using like double gliders. Like you're using a glider and then you put another glider on it. And then when that one starts to disappear, you hop on the other. Like and then you have to do it in such a precise way so that you land exactly where you need to land. And if you watch the speedrun, you're just amazed at what you're seeing. More than usual for a speedrun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, like the amount of gymnastics that people had to like figure out in order to like make a speedrun. Again, because like we said, like Ganondorf's lair is a gauntlet in and of itself, and it's very narrow in how you had to like proceed through it.
Yeah. And that's an actual gauntlet. Like there's no it's not like Hyrule Castle where we need to fight our way to the top, or I can strap a rocket to my shield and fly halfway up.
Or just,
you can do that.
Physics on a rock and just toss my way up.
Yeah, fly up to the Sky Temple or the Sky area and just fly down. But down there, no, you have to actually be acting like you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Like, Greg.
Final thoughts are that it's a remarkable game. It's a miracle that it works as well as it does.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we haven't really touched on, is just that the game functions. The game functions in a way that if you told me all of the things that this game does and allows you to do, I would think that this game is just a broken mess.
Yeah.
All the time. And it works. And there are games that are significantly less ambitious that are dramatically more broken than this game.
Yeah, some of them can't even fucking emulate right, but Like, we'll
But
get.
yeah, as a game itself, as an accomplishment of video game engineering, I don't know if that's even the right term for it, but everything hits, and the only things that don't hit have to do more with the kind of game that it is. You know, anybody who says that it's too big, that's an open world game problem.
Yeah.
That's an open world game problem. So if you don't like the size and scope of this game, you're not going to like the size and scope of any game like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like there's a giant open world game that works for you. You're not going to like that. If you don't like the creativity aspect of it, you don't necessarily have to engage in it. But I will admit, looking at the game, yeah, it does feel like you have to know how to really build stuff.
Well, Greg, you need to work out for it, because if I can't figure it out, then it's a game's problem. Okay. So I had enough of that. I already have enough streams to do that, and whenever I work on that part. But like, I remember, and this is was something that I mentioned when talking about Brother Wild. Like, I remember getting this game. Like, there's a certain melancholy when looking back at both of these games. Like, because exactly 6 years ago, like alongside the release of Breath of the Wild, like I had to drop out of college because I had to get a place on my own, and it was just my mental health was not able to like handle that increase of responsibility and maturity. And like Breath of the Wild was a game that helped me like go through that.
Yeah.
And
Comfort game.
And just now that this came out, like, and just look, it helps you also look back at everything that has happened in 6 years, you know. like because of the emotional connection with Breath of the Wild, like I get to also get instantly a connection with Tears of the Kingdom. And like I said, like there's a certain like melancholia just looking back at how everything has been, like, for everybody, like, to be perfect, like not just me, or like just like how everything has changed and moved and been like again, like not just for me, but for everybody, like for you, for Solar, for like. And it also kind of helps bring back a certain feeling that you get whenever when you start these kinds of games. A lot of things that felt impossible during these 6 years, like I'm pretty sure you have been into that shoes as well, like or even the audience, whenever, where things just happened, you know, like before you notice, 6 years have passed. You're in a different place, and you're in a different perspective of life, and just how everything has been.
Oh, yeah.
And you get to recognize a lot of areas, and just see how everything has changed.
Oh yeah. Life was different from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, in more ways than one. That's for fucking sure. That's for but like so when it comes to like recommending open world games, I still think that Sonic Frontiers is the best. Is the best baby's first open game. Is the first. Like,
Okay.
like and like because of the natural speed of Sonic, and just the way that the level design is handled, like the exploration and everything, like I still think that if anybody wants to like try an open world game in their entire lives, like they haven't even touched anything, not even Mario 64, in terms of like sandbox nature, like Sonic Frontiers is the better option, like to get familiar with that and then get into the Zelda franchise. Tears of the Kingdom is the last game I would recommend to a newbie in open world games, like because it's all a risk and reward. Like you have to click with all of these things. Like you have to click just as much as the things you want to click in together.
Yeah.
Like with your Ultra Hand, like even the smallest angle on how you proceed to this game can screw you over very easily. But
you can easily get hung up on one aspect of the game you don't like, and that feels like it ruins the whole experience. But there's just so many things to experience. So it's it's almost. I hate to say this because I know that there are people that they just don't have a choice in how they look at things, but if you get hung up on one thing in this game and it makes you not like the game, you're definitely only paying attention to that one thing. Because I do think that even if it's like the Ultra Hand, which is probably the biggest thing in the game, if you really don't like the Ultra Hand, you can still play this game very, very well without using it most of the time.
Yeah.
You'll have to use it a little bit, but it'll definitely scale down the issue. But there's just so much of this game that works that even the things that don't, they're just going to be very specific to people.
Exactly. Right. And like for me, when it comes to that, like since I already clicked with Breath of the Wild, which is always worth to touch upon, like that I still think that was a factor that played into the development of Tears. People were already like doing somewhat similar things to what Ultra Hand does, like putting a block in a minecart and then use magnesis to fly all the way there, which is something that even now Newman noticed. Like, which I would not be surprised if that clip was in the development room. Like you're like, okay, how do we do this? Like, this is the philosophy that we need to work on. Like, just stupid, just.
I mean that's the right philosophy to have. Is how do we do this but more?
Exactly.
You know, that's what it always should be, and that's where sequels, and that's a different discussion, but I think that's where a lot of sequels fall apart, is that what's the next thing that we do, and what you should be saying is, how do we do this but more?
Yeah, like in a similar...
And a lot of them don't do that. They get rid of mechanics, and they say, all right, well, we did this in the first one, but this one has to be its own separate thing. It's like, no, you make it its own separate thing by doing the same thing but bigger and better.
Yeah, and in a lot of areas, like Zelda, like Tears of the Kingdom is exactly what I described in my Frontiers movie, like where I want better versions of of a game's experience, not another brand new experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Like because I think that's what ultimately like makes things that's what leads to things actually being better. While I still don't know, and I'm actually kind of terrified of thinking of what the future holds after this game, because, like, my small mind, like my mind that clearly doesn't match with Miyamoto and Aonuma, the most I can think of is go on full Wind Waker and do underwater, like, and go through the water and go, which
either the water or the ocean.
Yeah,
I heard a lot of people saying that if you travel the oceans and the seas, like that, then it would be a bit better. I mean, or not better, but just more. It would be like the next progression. I mean, even then, if you want to say that, you could just have the underground but more populated. But then, at what point, if you've got Sky Islands and the surface and the underground and the ocean? At what point are you just like, okay, I'm almost fatigued traveling through the land?
Yeah, like at this point, like fuck Starfield and No Man's Sky. I'm living an actual planet right now. I'm living an like.
Now, what you could do is Wind Waker, where it's this land thousands of years later, and this is the land that's flooded. And so now, when you go underwater to investigate certain places, these are places that you remember from Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild.
Right.
So it is the same map, but the map is all flooded. And if you're a new player, you say, "Whoa, this is cool." And if you're an old player, you say, "I remember these places. Mm-hmm. They're now underwater."
Like probably that like go on full like everything is underwater. But then I also think of the I think of the implications, and just finding a monster in this deep dark ocean. I'm gonna need a couple underpants for this.
Well, of course the obvious problem right now is that if they gave you the chance to build something that looked like a submarine and go very deep underwater, the jokes would just be non-stop.
No, I can already imagine the jokes. Like, okay, you put 5 Koraks there and send them on the submarine, and you're like, fuck it.
Yeah. The birth of the Hudson Submarine Company would, I'm sure, raise a lot of eyebrows.
The hot Sonic of no, that's a different. But overall, like, definitely what I like. I do think that this game is, in all sense and form, and everything but availability, because of its nature, a step up from everything that Breath of the Wild was offering. Which again, like, I don't think I don't think people have stressed up enough how much of a big deal Breath of the Wild was last 6 years ago. Like how it broke the internet for months, if not a full-on year. And I will not be surprised if we're already seeing a bit of a slowdown because people already went crazy, and there's only so much you can step up that. But
yeah,
they're
gonna keep. This is a game that's gonna reach a sort of steady state in how many sales it makes during the week and the month, and it's just gonna maintain that. I mean, consider we're only a couple months out. We haven't even gone through a holiday season with this game in existence yet.
Yeah, we haven't like we're just reaching the summer season. Like for when it comes to like quote unquote like getting people into buying video games.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm pretty sure. Again, I think this game is already like around the same numbers as Breath of the Wild did. If not already surpassed it, I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think it surpassed it. I think it's past the halfway point. Because I think Breath of the Wild was somewhere close to 30 million. And Tears of the Kingdom, I know it was like 10 million in the first few days. I don't know what actually, I have Famitsu's numbers right here.
Look,
Famitsu Software sales.
Like whenever I see I just know that like this game is the result of the legacy that Breath of the Wild did. Like it's not like I and even on that note, like as somebody that has replayed Breath of the Wild so many times, the way this game is designed, I feel like I'm just gonna take my time completing the file that I already have, and I don't see myself doing the amount of replay that I have done for Breath of the Wild in this game, because if I had to see another Gloomhands without the proper equipment, I'm just like, nope. Which I think is a bit of a quote-unquote detriment to the game, which is again a detriment in comparisons. Like it's easier for me to say that you're gonna be able to like replay a lot of other games before you even consider revisiting this game from start.
Yeah, I mean, I never replayed Breath of the Wild. I never went through it again, just because I played so much of it the first time through, which I sort of did for this one. If I was to play either one of them back, I think what I would do is play them and try to keep it as linear as possible. Mm-hmm. Just to see good, like we said before, if you played this game linear, yeah, you can do that, but you're gonna get to the end with 10 hearts.
Yeah.
You're not really going to have a ton of armor, and none of it's going to be upgraded. Weapons you should be fine, because you're finding jank weapons and you're fusing stuff to them anyway, so you'll probably be okay with that. But I mean, if you think about it, you're barely underground. If you play the game like as they direct you to, I don't think you go underground very often, except to go to get Minoru's the mech.
For Minoru and for Yunobo, like the fire temple is there. The fire.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're not even going underground that much. So any of the resources that you might get, that's a great place for bomb flowers, and any of the resources that you get from there, you're not going to get them.
And for monster materials, because that's where you're gonna find most of your fighting.
And you got uncorrupted weapons down there. There are those little ghostly statues that hold weapons, and a lot of them are uncorrupted.
Oh, nice.
So they're going to be the strongest versions of them.
Mm-hmm. But all in all, like, I will also say that this game definitely lived up to the hype. Like one of the very few instances where I dare to say, like, yeah, I can see the 6-year development on this game. I don't think that I hope Nintendo, especially after Bayonetta and Prime 4, learn their mistake from this and never announce a game 6 years ahead. 6 years, like Jesus Christ, but like even if it's Zelda, I still think that was a bit unnecessary. uh, but all in all, like a fantastic adventure from the beginning all the way to the end, and I cannot wait to see uh, what the actual future keeps on holding. To be honest, like again, as terrified as I am one of the people that have been touched by this era of Zelda. Like I have played most of them. Like again, my favorite 2D Zelda is Minish Cap. I loved Ocarina of Time. I adored Twilight Princess before Breath of the Wild. That one was my favorite game. I didn't touch Skyward Sword because I didn't have a Motion Plus. Like but Breath of the Wild has its own world, and Tears of the Kingdom only touches on that even further. And they have earned my trust and love as a consumer to like see what the future holds. Like
Yeah.
especially if they stay in this world.
Yeah.
Like because I do think that that's a risk that they're starting to run into. Like that there is gonna be a big risk to take people away from this Link and this Zelda at the very least.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they'll, if they're gonna it would be legit shocking to me if they did a third one, like, which I don't think they're gonna do, but I mean, hey, I didn't think they were gonna do a direct sequel for this, so.
Like, and that's it. Just like to throw a bit of a bone and being honest, like now in retrospect with the footage and all, I definitely would not mind a Zelda game that's linear, either in the form of a remake of an actual remake of any other game, or just actually make things more linear. Like this game shows that it's very possible to make a linear Zelda within the concepts of an open world that they have established. Like,
I mean, keep the 3D Zeldas like this and make the 2D Zeldas the more linear experience.
yeah,
Go back to something a more elaborate like Breath of the Wild. Go use the Link's Awakening engine to redo the Oracle games. There are plenty of ways to revisit the more linear approach and not have to abandon the Breath of the Wild, the open world formula. Or I said this before, just build that linear formula into the game. Build it as DLC with missions and new dungeons that appear in the depths. Since the depths is relatively empty, you can do a lot of stuff with it. So have a new adventure that appears in the depths, and you've got 6 new dungeons that you have to go into down there. New caves or something that opened up, and when you're in there, you're limited as to your Zonai devices. You're limited as to your movement. So you have to play them more like traditional dungeons, where you have to figure out which doors have what and find the keys and beat the bosses. And there's ways to integrate that linear Zelda style of gameplay into this open world where you can move around freely, but when you get to the actual dungeons, it's a Zelda dungeon. And you have to do it that way.
Which again is not impossible. Like Hyrule Castle in and of itself is a showcase of that. Like actual Hyrule Castle has always been that sign that you can do a more traditional dungeon, because that's actually a thing that I didn't actually explain or even record or show in the recordings. Like in Hyrule Castle, you're going back and forth between rooms. You're good.
Yeah.
Like so again, it's not impossible to like make that a more consistent thing rather than here there should be a switch somewhere 5 times in a row. 5 times.
Yeah, $30 DLC, and it adds 6 dungeons that are a bit more linear in your approach to them, and more linear when you're inside. Less I can build a bunch of Zonai devices and do everything, and they're a little claustrophobic maybe, and you're trying to get around. Like, there's a way to do it, and I'm excited to see if they would do something to that scope, or if they would just wait a few years and make another traditional style Zelda game. and just not use the maybe keep the Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild open world aspect for a larger project.
Yeah, like again, we shall wait and see because like they somehow made the bar even higher than they already had. So,
Yeah.
like there has to be a point where they either keep the momentum or actually stop and
Take a risk.
things, yeah, or even take even more risk and reach it even higher. Which by that point, like, no.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Not even just take it higher. If you move in a different direction, it's a risk.
Oh yeah.
At this point, they're gonna look at it as a risk because this was so successful.
Like, which again, I don't even know if that's too much to ask because, like, they're basically making like Age of Calamity was a bit of a risk, like making a different continuity for a game that was supposed to be the restart of everything.
Yeah.
Like, and then this game, like, it's just that there's just a lot of things that could be done, and they're actually there. Like they're not just us making shit up. Like it's all there into the same game. Like it's so again, I just wonder what the future will actually hold, and it's an interesting thing because I don't think I have that even for something like Mario or like definitely Sonic, which is the closest one to, like, because again I cannot stress enough how Frontiers actually has been, but again or maybe I can. I did a 2-hour video on that part, and given the looks of the updates, it might become another feature-length video, like, for the sequel. But other than that, like, I'm looking forward to the next game, which for whenever the future of Nintendo holds up, because despite what the FTC likes to say, like, Nintendo's here to stay, and you cannot ignore it. You cannot. And with that, thank you so much to the two of you for being here. You know that these streams like mean a lot, given the date and all. Like, and this game was an important one to talk about, and I'm glad I had the chance to talk about it with you guys.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for the invite.
Mm-hmm. Like, you know it. You know, you're welcome here whenever. And also, for the sake of it, we'll also have a time to show that you can find Greg's channel on. Oh yeah, fuck! I forgot to set the fucking size of the thing.
Check the description down below.
Check the descriptions down below, or also you can find his streams on twitch.tv/Uncle Silver, Uncle Silver Gaming on YouTube, depending on how things play out. Like, you can find all of his content and things to show. Right now he is currently playing Yakuza. What other things do you have plans for the future?
I mean, do I ever plan anything out?
Okay, that's a fair argument.
I don't know. I played Pikmin earlier today, and I just chatting, and I pretty much play it kind of loose. I don't really go too crazy on Yeah, I'm definitely a variety person, but I'm not very much like, oh, we're definitely doing this to this week and next week, and I'm mostly I'll play this until I feel like it, and then we'll move on, or we'll beat this game all the way to the end.
Yeah,
I'm also gotta be careful with it because I can't fill it up with too much now that SGB is a concern.
Yeah, but congratulations on that as well. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I'm sure everybody was gonna do a fantastic job, and I obviously, like, it means a lot to have seen the channel go back and you being a more prevalent member in that group. Like, I really mean it. Like, some of my favorites moments in SGB have been games in which you are in because of your insight and input. And
I appreciate that.
And with that, I will see everyone either next year when it comes to streaming, or back during October when we finally start the Gray Line Season 1. Thanks so much for being here.